Your tongue feels thick in your mouth as you rehearse what to say. The room is the wrong temperature, too warm, too bright, and your heartbeat knocks against your ribs hard enough to hear in your ears. Your inner voice is busy, a courtroom of critics, stamping you with old labels. Not ready, not enough, don't mess this up. Your palms are damp on the steering wheel, or the trackpad, or the coffee cup you forgot you were holding. Every microsecond stretches long, and the first words you planned suddenly feel fake. Sound familiar? Here's the promise. By the end of this journey, you'll know how to talk to yourself like a leader, calm, clean, and catalytic, so you can generate real confidence on command, not by pretending, but by training the system that makes your thoughts, your breath, and your actions line up. Leadership begins in the half-second before you open your mouth. That half-second is where your brain's threat detector, the amygdala, decides whether to flood you with alarms or let your prefrontal cortex steer. When your inner talk is hostile, your body believes you're under attack and reroutes blood and attention away from clear decision-making. You don't need a lecture, you need a handle. So here is one, the command voice protocol. It's a 3-step method you'll practice until it's automatic. First, interrupt the static. Second, issue the brief. Third, choose the tone. In a moment you'll try it, not as a motivational trick, but as a neurological reroute, quick moves that reclaim that half-second and make space for wise action. Before we step in, feel your breath as it is. Notice the temperature of the air at the tip of your nose. Hear the faintest sound in the room, maybe a distant hum, maybe the soft friction of fabric when your chest rises. Your jaw might be clenched. Unhook it. Let the tongue rest against the roof of your mouth lightly. The science is simple. Long exhales activate the parasympathetic brake, cooling the limbic surge. That's your first micro-practice, the 4-4-6 breath. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Do 2 rounds now, as if you're quietly dimming a switch a few notches lower. While you exhale, add a 7-word sentence in your mind. I can choose the next useful sentence. Interrupt the static is your pattern breaker. The brain loves loops. What you repeat gets privileges in your reticular activating system, the gatekeeper that decides what you notice. When the loop is self-criticism, your RAS spotlights danger. Your interrupt must be physical, tiny, and immediate. Tap 2 fingers against your wrist. Roll 1 shoulder slowly back. Whisper a neutral word silently, like now. Neutral beats positive when you don't believe the positive yet. That single neutral cue has a job: to yank the steering wheel away from the spiral. Think of a storm outside the window. You don't argue with the weather. You close the window. You return to the room where you choose your next move. Issue the brief comes next. Leaders don't chatter, they brief. A brief is crisp, specific, and forward-facing. It has only 2 parts, aim and first inch. Not the whole plan, just where to point your attention and the first measurable move. In your mind you say, aim, build clarity. First inch, ask 1 grounding question. Or aim, earn trust. First inch, name the decision and the why. The brief is not a pep talk. It is a micro-order to your system. Your prefrontal cortex loves specificity. It reduces cognitive load and quiets limbic noise. The more you practice issuing briefs to yourself, the quieter the courtroom gets, because the judge realizes there's a competent counsel in the room. Choose the tone is the piece most people skip. Tone isn't decoration, it's a biochemical dial. Sharp, contemptuous tone raises cortisol and narrows perception. Warm, firm tone widens options and stabilizes heart rate variability. You can model tone on someone you trust, a coach, a calm manager, a future you who has done this 1,000 times. Imagine that voice behind your left shoulder, steady and grounded. Borrow its music. The words matter, but the melody moves your body. This isn't pretending to be someone else. It's choosing which channel your nervous system tunes to. Let me bring you into a fluorescent conference room, late afternoon, where Lewis sat staring at a slide deck frozen on the title page. His inner voice was loud, calling him an imposter in a language he learned from an old boss who barked urgency like a siren. He felt heat behind his eyes and the familiar tightness across the chest. He almost did what he always did: speed up, talk fast, drown the discomfort with more facts. Instead, he slid his thumb against the seam of his notebook, interrupt the static. One shoulder rolled back, small, slow, deliberate. Then, barely moving his lips, he issued the brief, aim clarity. First inch, ask the room what success looks like for this call. Finally, he chose the tone, warm, low, unhurried. When he spoke, he heard his own voice like a bell struck softly, and the table leaned in. No theatrics, just a different channel. The meeting ended with a single decision and a timeline everyone believed. Later, he said the strangest part was the silence between his breath out and his words in. That was the moment he felt like someone else had entered the room, not a superhero, just the version of himself he'd been borrowing tone from. Pause here and scan your body again. Feel the weight of your feet on the floor or the pressure of your seat against your thighs. Notice the sensation of your clothes at the back of your neck. Cool or warm, heavy or light, leadership lives in these micro-sensations because they tell you what state you're in. States drive stories, and stories drive sentences. When your state is spiked, your story casts you as prey. When you downshift the state, the story shifts too. This is not about faking confidence. It's about changing the conditions that produce the sentence you're about to hear inside your head. There's another tool you'll carry from now on, the two-tag reframe. It's deceptively simple and slyly powerful. You tag a thought with two labels, ownership and orientation. Ownership means you add the phrase, "I'm having the thought that," before any harsh line your mind throws up. Orientation means you append, "and I'm orienting toward," with a chosen value. For example, "I'm having the thought that I'll mess this up, and I'm orienting toward service." That structure weakens cognitive fusion with the negative tape while anchoring you to who you want to be. Cognitive Science 101. When you label an internal event, activity in the amygdala drops and the insula lights up, giving you better interoception and choice. Try it now with whatever sentence your mind is offering. Feel how the edges soften when it becomes a thought you're having, not a truth you are. Let's practice the command voice protocol in real time. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Tap your wrist once. Whisper now, that's your interrupt. Issue the brief, aim presence. First inch, name what matters in one sentence. Choose the tone. Imagine a trusted mentor saying, "Slow is smooth, smooth is fast." Borrow their cadence. Now silently say your sentence. If you're alone, say it out loud. Hear the quality of your voice. Notice whether your shoulders drop a millimeter. A leader's voice isn't louder, it's cleaner. It wastes fewer words paying interest on fear. You may worry this is superficial. Isn't real confidence built by years of wins? That's a partial truth, but it hides a trap. Waiting for evidence before you choose a tone is like waiting for the weather to change before you close the window. The paradox is that tone helps create the evidence. When your voice is orderly, your actions get traction. Neuroplasticity is the brain's habit of becoming what it repeats. Each time you use the protocol, you slightly rewire the association chain. Stimulus, right arrow, pause, right arrow, brief, right arrow, tone, right arrow, action, right arrow, result. After enough reps, the amygdala doesn't slam the panic button so quickly because it has learned you have a procedure. The body trusts you. Another breath. Notice the subtle coolness as you inhale, the faint warmth as you exhale across the upper lip. Let your eyes focus on one point and then soften to take in the whole room. This is your sanctuary room, another recurring image you'll use. When the storm outside rages, you return to this room, close the window, and issue the brief. You can decorate this room however you like. Some keep a real object on their desk, a small stone, a paperclip, a smooth coin to anchor the ritual. Touch it and your body remembers. We do the protocol now. There's a piece about identity I want you to hear, not as a slogan, but as a lived sensation. You are the awareness noticing the voice, not the voice itself. You're the operator of the console, not the scrolling code. When you observe your inner talk like weather, clouds forming, rain passing, you create a gap wide enough to place a hand on the right dial. Leadership is mostly about which dial you touch first. If you touch urgency first, you get noise. If you touch clarity first, you get direction. If you touch kindness first, you get trust. The dial doesn't need a flourish. It needs your fingertips and 1/2 second of choice. Back to Lewis a few weeks later. He was in a hallway outside a client's office, fluorescent lights humming, carpet smelling faintly of coffee. His phone buzzed with a message. The client had added an executive to the meeting. He felt heat rise and a sentence fire, not ready. He stepped to the side, pressed his wrist to the cool window and whispered, "Now." The glass felt almost cold, a perfect interrupt. He issued the brief, aim discovery, first inch, ask one question to uncover risk. He chose the tone, curious, grounded. The meeting turned into a conversation instead of a performance, and he walked out steadier than he walked in. He sent me a note that night. "I think I met the guy I've been imitating." That's the identity shift taking root. Your first drill for the next 24 hours is called the hourly brief. Once per hour, set a gentle chime, run the command voice protocol in under 30 seconds, even if nothing is wrong. Interrupt the static with a physical cue. Issue the brief with aim and first inch. Choose the tone. Whisper your sentence. This builds the neural path when stakes are low, so it's there when stakes are high. At day's end, capture 2 lines in a journal. When I used the protocol, what changed? When I didn't, what default tone ran the show? Keep it spare, later's debrief. That's how the operating system updates. As you stand up or shift in your chair, feel how your weight transfers through your heels or the balls of your feet. Feel the tiny stretch in your calves, the cool air brushing your forearms, the way your chest expands when you lift your gaze a few degrees above the horizon. These small signals are not decoration. They are levers. You don't need a different personality to lead yourself. You need a repeatable conversation. You just learned the first one. Interrupt the static, issue the brief, choose the tone. Use it on the next email, the next negotiation, the next self-doubt, the next moment your brain offers you familiar weather. Close the window. Return to the room. Speak like a leader to the one person who must believe you first. Confidence on command is not volume. It is vocabulary. Leaders curate their inner language the way a pilot runs a checklist. Calm, precise, repeatable. In this part, you'll build a lexicon that changes state before it tries to change results. Your tongue may still feel heavy when stakes rise, but the words you feed your nervous system can lighten it faster than you think. This is where the science gets simple again. Your reticular activating system highlights whatever matches your current phrasing. Say "don't fail," and your mind floods the stage with failure cues. Say "deliver one clear next step," and your perceptual field hunts evidence for that. You will construct a vocabulary that serves clarity, courage, and care. Not fluffy affirmations you don't believe, but operational sentences you can actually use. Before we name anything, check the body. Feel the weight of your shoulders, the temperature behind your ears, the texture of fabric under your fingertips. Let your exhale stretch one beat longer than your inhale. Notice the soft click when your jaw releases. These are not detours. They are the dials that make your prefrontal cortex audible again. Now imagine a small room behind your sternum with good light and clean air. That's your sanctuary room. On the wall is a simple plaque, one sentence at a time. We'll start with a method you can apply all day long, in private, in public, in the milliseconds between a trigger and your reply. The framework is called the Leader's Lexicon Swap. It has 3 moves, from problem to purpose, from prediction to process, from pressure to pace. You will practice swapping one inner sentence for another in a way that regulates physiology and primes skill. From problem to purpose means you replace "this is hard" with "I'm here to learn what matters." From prediction to process means you trade "I'll blow it" for "I will do the next right piece." From pressure to pace means you shift "hurry" into "steady is fastest for me." The shifts are small and repeatable. You don't need to believe them yet. You just need to speak them like a weather report you trust. To see it in motion, come with me into a kitchen at 6:47 a.m. Aisha is packing lunches while her boss's 8 a.m. message repeats in her skull. We need a stronger point of view. Her mind fires back with an old sentence, "You're too soft." She feels heat concentrate in her throat, the burn that leads to either silence or defensiveness. She rinses an apple and hears the water drum the sink. That sound is her interrupt. She runs the swaps. Problem to purpose, "I'm here to clarify value." Prediction to process, draft the one-sentence thesis. Pressure to pace, calm makes clarity. She scribbles one line on a sticky note and tucks it in her pocket like a small talisman. 2 hours later in the meeting, when the pressure returns, she touches the paper and repeats the exact phrases. Her voice is low and slow. The room quiets. Her sentence lands. Afterward, she texts a friend, "Didn't feel brave, felt methodical." That's the point. You are installing a method, not chasing a feeling. Scan your palms. Feel the coolness on the back of your hands compared to the warmth at your fingertips. Let your gaze soften to peripheral vision. The nervous system interprets this as safety. Now layer in the second framework, the 3-room model. Your mind lives in 3 rooms. One is the panic room, where alarms blare and everything looks like a threat. One is the planning room, where you align aims with actions. One is the practice room, where you run tiny reps until a skill becomes body memory. Most people try to think their way out of the panic room with more thoughts, which only feeds the sirens. Leaders learn to step sideways into the practice room first. You take one breath, one swap, one micro-action. Then, when your heart rate dips a notch, you walk into the planning room and issue a brief. The move is spatial in your imagination and physiological in your body. You are not arguing with the weather. You are walking to a different room where the window shuts and the air clears. You can feel the room shift by sensation. In the panic room, your chest tightens, your breath lifts into the upper ribs, and time telescopes. In the practice room, your breath drops 2 centimeters lower, your exhale grows heavier, your jaw unhooks, and your palms dry. In the planning room, your forehead smooths and the back of your neck loosens. This isn't poetry, it's proprioception. Naming the room out loud is a micro-drill. Whisper "panic room," then move your body. Step 1 foot to the side, as if crossing a threshold, and murmur "practice room." After 1 4-4-6 breath and 1 lexicon swap, say "planning room" and issue your brief. It will feel theatrical the first time. After 10 reps, it will feel like a doorway you forgot your house had, suddenly useful during storms. There's a myth that leadership self-talk is always bold. Sometimes the most powerful sentence is humble and precise. Watch Yi, a junior developer presenting his first code review to a prickly senior engineer. The room smells like dry marker and old coffee. He feels a river of heat move up his spine, and his tongue wants to sprint. He catches himself and runs the 3-room sequence. He steps his right foot half an inch left, a private threshold, practice room. He swaps prediction to process. I will answer one question at a time. His exhale lengthens. He flicks his eyes to a single dot on the whiteboard to soften vision. Planning room. He briefs himself, aim collaboration. First inch, ask what edge case worries you most. When he speaks, the senior relaxes just enough to make it a conversation. He doesn't leave thinking he dominated. He leaves with a loop, stimulus, swap, small win. Confidence accrues in the ledger of repeatable acts. Let's tighten the physiology with a rule you met briefly, the 90-second weather rule. Emotional surges in the body, adrenaline spikes, cortisol pulses, rise and begin to taper within roughly 90 seconds if you do not feed them with new catastrophic thoughts. In practice, you set a timer or count breaths. 10 rounds of 4-4-6 is roughly a minute and 40 seconds, and you narrate like a meteorologist. Heat in chest rising, wind gusts slowing, rain passing. During those 90 seconds, you do not make identity statements or decisions. You only watch the weather. The moment it drops, you walk into the planning room and issue your brief. People think they need to win the feeling before they act. You only need to outlast the surge without fueling it. Touch something near you, a ceramic mug, a wooden desk edge, the metal zipper on your jacket. Feel its temperature, its weight, the tiny imperfections under your fingertip. Anchoring to texture is a shortcut out of the panic room. Now pair it with a sentence from your new lexicon. If your default in a talk says, I can't do this, your swap is I can do the next sentence. If the default says they'll judge me, the swap is I will serve one need I can see. If it says I always freeze, the swap is I am learning to slow down by choice. Your RAS will start to bring you cues that match your selected phrasing. This is what people mean by priming. You're programming your attentional filter. Identity sits underneath all this. You are the awareness moving between rooms, not the alarms inside one room. You are the one who chooses a sentence, not the sentence. When you forget, the protocol remembers for you. Interrupt, swap, breathe, brief, tone. You are not faking. You are training your organism to recognize we have a pilot. At some point you will hit resistance. It will sound responsible. It will say, I don't want to be delusional. Good. Your swaps are not fantasies. They are task-focused, value-oriented cues. If your value is accuracy, your purpose statement might be I'm here to make the model clearer. If your value is care, your purpose statement might be I'm here to protect what matters. This is not about painting over fear. It is about speaking in a way that keeps your hands steady enough to do the work. Courage without clarity is noise. Clarity without courage is delay. The lexicon you are building braids the two. Let's rehearse together. Inhale gently for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper now, name the room you are in. If it's panic, step sideways, practice room. Choose one swap, problem to purpose, prediction to process, pressure to pace. Say it exactly, hear its music, feel your shoulders drop a millimeter. Planning room. Issue the brief, state your aim and your first inch. Choose the tone, pick warm and firm, like a mentor who knows you and expects you to meet the moment. Say one sentence aloud. Note the temperature at the back of your throat as the air moves. Notice the pause after the period. That pause is authority. You are not rushing to outrun the silence. You are using it. A field test will prove this to you. Tonight, before a difficult conversation or email, run the full sequence and write a single leader line at the top of your notes. The leader line is a compact statement shaped by your swaps. purpose stated, process named, pace chosen. For example, purpose, decide the next experiment. Process, ask for two constraints, offer one path. Pace, calm, concise, keep the line visible. Anytime your heart rate rises, touch the page and reread the line before you speak. You are not locking yourself into a script. You are locking yourself into a stance. You'll notice after a few days that your default sentences change even when you're not trying. Neuroplasticity favors what's repeated with attention and emotion. Every time you run a swap under pressure, you attach emotion to the new phrasing. The brain flags it as important, and the RAS starts treating it like a VIP guest, opening doors for it in your perception. That's why this work compounds. At first it feels like lifting your suitcase into the overhead bin, awkward and effortful. Then the hinge oil spreads and the motion becomes smooth. One day you will catch yourself saying, without thinking, first inch first, and your shoulders will drop before your conscious mind catches up. Aisha had a second test 2 weeks later, this time at home. Her partner asked a hard question about money, voice tight with worry. Old recordings started, you always avoid tough talks. She felt heat flare across her cheeks. Panic room. She stepped her left foot to the kitchen threshold. Practice room. Swap from pressure to pace, we go slow to go true. From prediction to process, one question, one answer. Her exhale stretched longer. Planning room. Brief, aim, alignment. First inch, ask what a good outcome looks like tonight. Tone, warm, grounded. The conversation didn't become easy, but it became honest. They ended with one decision and a calendar invite. Later she wrote in her journal, I didn't win a debate, I chose a room. Read that again. That is a leader talking to herself like a leader. Check in one more time. Feel your feet. Spread your toes inside your shoes. Notice the cool air on the skin just under your eyes. Let your breath settle like a blanket folding itself over your ribs. This is your operating system update completing. The leader's Lexicon swap and the 3-room model are now in your pocket. Your next drill is the shadow swap. For the next 48 hours, every time you catch a harsh thought, you add the ownership tag, I'm having the thought that. Then you run one of the 3 swaps. Immediately after, you take a tiny action consistent with the new sentence, no matter how small, a clarifying question, a slower breath, a drafted opening line. End the day with a 3-line debrief. What was my most frequent default sentence? Which swap had the strongest effect in my body? What first inches did I actually take? Keep it spare, keep it honest. You are not trying to impress the page. You are training your attention. If you forget, you begin again. The weather passes. Rooms are always available. The lexicon is yours to shape. Speak like a leader in private, and you won't need to perform in public. Your voice will already know the way. Confidence that lasts is built on evidence you can feel, not slogans you repeat. In this part, you'll start collecting that evidence with a framework that makes your inner talk factual, trackable, and fair. It's called the confidence ledger. Most people keep a secret deficit sheet in their heads, tallying every error and writing off every win as luck. Leaders keep a ledger that balances like reality does: inputs, outputs, lessons, and next steps. The ledger is not a diary of feelings. It is a record of behaviors and the state shifts that preceded them. You'll pair it with another tool, the radar check, a 2-minute scan you run before and after key moments to capture signals from your body and your environment. The result is simple. Your self-talk starts citing data. When your mind says, you always choke, you'll meet it with, yesterday I used the brief in 3 conversations and secured 2 clear decisions. Your body will hear numbers as safety. Before you pick up a pen, come back to sensation. Notice the exact weight of your tongue resting in your mouth. Let the breath drop lower. Feel the cool air at the base of your nostrils and the warmth as you exhale over your upper lip. Set your shoulders 1 millimeter wider. Hear the farthest sound you can detect: a fan, traffic in the distance, the soft tick of a clock. Your nervous system needs proof that you are here. That proof arrives as temperature, weight, contact, sound. When you're present, your prefrontal cortex opens the door again. Now you're ready to gather evidence without argument. The confidence ledger has 4 columns you'll run daily: trigger, protocol used, outcome, lesson plus first inch. Trigger is a plain description of what set the system off. Client pushed back, partner question timeline, Slack ping at 9:14 p.m. Protocol used is the exact tool you deployed. 446 breath, leaders lexicon swap, pressure to pace, command voice brief, 3-room step. Outcome is observable. Asked 1 question and got constraint. Said I need 10 minutes. Drafted answer. Chose tone, warm and firm, meeting aligned. Lesson plus first inch is where the ledger earns its name. What you learned about your state and the smallest action you'll carry forward. You keep entries short on purpose. Leaders don't ruminate, they debrief. You're training a bias toward clarity. To anchor this in memory, step into a real day with Sam. It's 10:03 a.m. Hallway smells faintly like toner and citrus cleaner. Sam holds a coffee that's already cooling, the lid slightly loose so the rim clicks against plastic. A message flashes. The CEO wants to join the 11 a.m. demo. Sam's jaw clamps, heat in the chest. The sentence arrives, "You're not ready." He walks to a window and places his palm on the glass. Cool, smooth. Radar check, pre-event. Our rate of breath is shallow. Our attention is narrowed to threat. Data in environment. Time is 57 minutes. Deck is at V1. Affect in body, tight throat, sweaty palms. Our resources available. Teammate Mia, a working prototype, the command voice protocol. He interrupts with a slow shoulder roll, whispers now, issues the brief, aim clarity. First inch confirm success criteria. He chooses tone, calm, curious. He messages Mia 1 line, "What 2 outcomes make this a win?" Mia replies in under a minute. The meeting comes, the CEO joins, and Sam opens with Mia's line. After he runs radar post, breath steady, attention widened, data captured, 2 decisions, 1 blocker named, next step assigned. He writes his ledger entry, evidence banked. Scan your own body again. Let your exhale grow heavy, as if you're setting a book down on a table. Feel the chair under your thighs, the texture of fabric where your forearms rest, the slight coolness at the backs of your hands. Your ledger begins not at the page, but in this contact. If you prefer digital, fine. If you like paper, better. Pens slow the mind enough to notice. Either way, you'll write quickly in the minutes after a trigger or before a predictable one. The brain will try to tell you it's not worth recording small wins. That is why you must. Small wins are the most honest kind because they are repeatable. The radar check is your 2-minute state scientist. You run it like an air pilot does before takeoff and after landing. The steps are quick. Rate of breath. Count 1 slow inhale, 1 slow exhale, note the ratio. Attention. Is your vision narrow or soft? Your hearing tuned to the nearest voice or the farthest hum? Data. What external facts actually exist? Time, constraints, people present, resources in reach. Effect. Name the top 2 sensations in the body: heat, pressure, flutter, dryness. Resources. List 3 tools or allies you can use right now. That's it. You are not diagnosing childhood or rewriting memory. You are taking a snapshot so your self-talk can point to something real. From that snapshot, you issue your brief and pick your tone. After the moment passes, you run radar again and log the difference. Over a week, patterns emerge, and your inner voice shifts from critic to strategist. Here's what the shift sounds like in a relationship. Myra is entering a conversation with her brother about their mother's medical care. Her heart rate is elevated. She feels a small ache between her shoulder blades. The kitchen light is harsh. Pre-radar, breath at the collarbones, attention glued to worst-case scenarios. Data says their mom's test is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Effect is heat on cheeks. Resources include printed notes, a glass of water, and the 3-room model. She steps sideways to the practice room, runs the 4-4-6 breath twice, softens her gaze to the window reflection, and repeats the swap. From prediction to process, 1 question, 1 agreement. Planning room, brief, aim alignment. First inch, ask what outcome would feel responsible tonight. Tone, warm and steady. The talk grows tense twice. Each time she anchors to the cool rim of the glass and reads the leader line she wrote on a sticky note. Post-radar, breath lower, attention includes peripheral sounds, the fridge hum, a car door closing. Data says they agreed on tomorrow's plan. Affect is weight in shoulders lighter by a degree. Her ledger entry is 2 lines. The next morning, when anxiety fires, she rereads the entry. Her inner voice has receipts. Pause with me, lift your chin 2 centimeters and then let it settle. Stretch your hands and feel the small pop in the middle joints. Smell whatever faint scent is there, soap, coffee, paper. This matters because your animal body must know it is safe enough to learn. Safety isn't a speech, it's a set of cues. When those cues are in place, you can internalize another framework, the signal-to-noise ratio. In pressure moments, your brain generates noise, catastrophic predictions, status anxieties, what-ifs. Signals are the few lines that actually guide action. Leaders improve the ratio. The method is a swift 2-question audit. What is the one piece of reality I can confirm? What is the smallest act that would move that piece? Ask it silently and answer aloud in a whisper. Saying it out loud increases commitment and calms the limbic system by engaging language centers tied to planning rather than threat. Watch this in a startup war room. The screen throws blue light. The air is stale with pizza spice and recycled air. A sales graph looks like a sledding hill. Theo feels his stomach drop, a cold twist. Noise floods. We are done. Investors will bolt. This is on me. He touches the cool aluminium of his laptop, whispers now, and runs the audit. Confirmable reality. Traffic is up. Conversions dropped after the new form. Smallest act. Roll back the form for 1 cohort and test copy. His tone is even when he says, roll back cohort C, test 2 lines. The room steadies. The line on the graph doesn't jump, but the team moves. Later, Theo fills his ledger, trigger, steep drop, protocol, signal-to-noise audit brief, outcome, test live, lesson plus first inch, pre-write rollback plans for launches. His brain logs, I act on signals, and that becomes the language available to him next time. Identity weaves through these tools like a quiet instrument under a score. You are not the totals on any day's ledger. You are the awareness collecting the data and deciding the tone of interpretation. When an entry reads outcome mixed, a critic will want to stamp it with failure. The leader in you will say, data mixed, lesson clear, and move on. This is not spin. It is stewardship. Your inner talk is responsible for the way your organism stores memory. If you label every mixed outcome as threat, your amygdala will keep the sirens warmed up. If you label mixed as information, your prefrontal cortex will keep the lights on for the next move. You are the operator choosing which label your body will believe. Another breath. Feel the smooth slide of air along the back of your throat. Notice the contact of your heel on the floor, the slight pressure on the outer edge of your foot. Let your eyes rest on one object with a clear outline, the corner of a book, the edge of a frame, and then widen again to take in the whole field. Now take up the radar check in your own life for one predictable stress window each day: the morning inbox, the late afternoon slump, the evening conversation. Run radar before, run your protocol, run radar after, and write one ledger line. After 5 days, read them in sequence. You will see that your triggers rhyme, your best tools cluster, and your outcomes improve when your tone is warm and firm. Seeing those patterns shifts your identity from "I'm at the mercy of moods" to "I am a practitioner who learns." That is confidence on command, built from ground truth. Let me take you to a different kind of anecdote, one that smells like rain on pavement. It's an evening community forum, metal chairs scraping, a microphone that squeals every 3rd minute. Carla, a nurse, stands up to ask the city council about staffing ratios. She hates microphones, hates the feeling of people watching her mouth form words. Her inner voice has a familiar taunt: "You'll shake." She runs radar in the line. Breath high, attention narrow, data, 2 minutes per person, crowd mixed, resources, folded note in pocket, a 4-4-6 breath, a borrowed tone from her mentor. She steps to the mic, feels the cool metal, whispers now, and issues the brief: aim specific, ask. First inch, name the number and the why. Tone, low and steady. She feels the tremor in her hands and does not call it weakness. She labels it energy. 90 seconds later, she sits, heart pounding but intact, and writes a ledger line on her phone. 2 weeks later, the council member emails to ask for a follow-up. Carla's body will remember that her voice can carry data. That is a deposit that pays dividends for years. You'll meet resistance in a different costume now: boredom. The mind will say the ledger is tedious, the radar check repetitive. Boredom is a sign of progress. Your nervous system no longer sees these moves as dramatic. Lean in. Mastery is repetition without contempt. To prevent drift, we add a small flourish called the signature cue. It's a unique physical tag you attach to any time you complete a ledger entry: 2 knuckles tapped together, a coin rubbed, a pen clicked twice. It tells your basal ganglia, store this loop. Over weeks, the signature cue becomes shorthand for "we log reality, we learn, we laid." You'll find yourself doing it without thinking after a clean conversation or a clear email, and the cue will be felt like a small private nod from the future you are becoming. There's a deeper science thread running under all of this, and it is worth one brief glance because it gives your practice dignity. When you label internal states, the amygdala quiets. When you plan concrete next steps, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex engages. When your tone is warm, heart rate variability improves. When you repeat a loop with attention, synapses strengthen along that path. You are not tricking yourself. You are training specific networks. The language that emerges is not hype. It is the readout of a body that trusts its pilot. The proof is in your day-to-day: fewer spirals, cleaner requests, steadier breathing in rooms that used to own you. One more check-in. Feel the temperature difference between the air on your cheeks and the skin under your collar. Press your feet into the floor and then soften. Slide one palm along your thigh and notice the grain of fabric. This is how you close the window when the weather churns. Then you walk back into your sanctuary room and speak in the language you're learning: brief, clear, kind, firm. The ledger and radar turn that language into a culture inside you. Over time, your default self-talk will start to preface critique with a question, pair observation with a plan, and wrap the whole thing in a tone that keeps your hands steady. That is not accidental. That is practice becoming identity. Your drill for the next 72 hours is called clean data, clean dialogue. Pick 2 moments per day that usually spike you. Before each, run the radar check and write a leader line at the top of a note, shaped by the signal-to-noise audit. one confirmable reality, one smallest act. After each, run radar again and enter a ledger line with outcome and lesson plus first inch. End the day with a single aloud sentence in your command voice. Today I collected evidence I can feel. Hear its music. Notice your shoulders respond. You're not hyping yourself, you're reporting. That is what leaders do in rooms where the weather once dictated the speech. You are the awareness that collects and names, not the noise that panics. You are the operator of the ledger, not the balance on any particular day. When you forget, touch your signature cue. When you remember, breathe like someone who has a protocol. Your inner talk is learning to cite the life you are actually living, and confidence is arriving on schedule. Powerful self-talk is not only what you say, it is whom you're speaking as. In this part, you'll learn to shift roles on command, so your inner voice arrives as a coach, not a critic, as a strategist, not a panicked intern, as a diplomat, not a courtroom brawler. The tool is called the Voiceboard, and you'll run it like stage lighting. 5 dimmers you can slide between 0 and 10, coach, captain, counselor, critic, and citizen. Every voice has a job. The trick is choosing which one holds the mic in the next 60 seconds. You're not erasing parts of you, you're directing them. Confidence grows when the right role speaks at the right time, and the wrong one is thanked and sent to the wings. Start with your body so the stage is quiet. Notice the cool air brushing the rims of your nostrils. Let your exhale grow 1 beat longer than your inhale. Feel the weight of your tongue resting on the roof of your mouth and the softness that appears at the hinge of your jaw when you let it. Touch the surface nearest you, the ceramic mug, the keyboard edge, the fabric of your sleeve, and register its temperature. Now place your attention 3 inches below your collarbones in the center line. Picture a small panel there with 5 sliders labeled COACH, CAPTAIN, COUNSELOR, CITIC, CITIZEN. The critic slider exists. It protects standards. But if it's above a 3 during action, your prefrontal cortex becomes a backstage whisper instead of the director. You will learn to drop it to a 2 and lift coach, and captain to 6 or 7 when it's time to move. The Voiceboard runs on a quick pairing, a role, a line, a tone. The coach speaks with warmth and specificity. You've done hard things, here's the first inch. The captain speaks concisely about priorities. This matters now, that can wait. The counselor is curious and kind. What's the emotion's real name? What value is asking for care? The critic speaks only after the moment, not during, and only in service of standards. What will we improve next time? The citizen speaks for community. What helps the whole, not just me? You can feel the difference in your chest as you read those lines. The coach lowers heart rate. The captain narrows focus. The counselor keeps the organism safe enough to learn. The citizen opens perspective. The critic, used sparingly, sharpens craft. You're not silencing, you're sequencing. Come into a hallway outside a glass-walled boardroom, thin carpet swallowing footsteps, air cooler than the corridor, the scent of dry erase marker faint and metallic. Nora, a product lead, holds a 1-page summary. The paper edges nick her fingertips. A VP who cut her off last quarter is at the table, sipping water with the slow serenity of someone who knows they will speak first. Nora's inner critic clears its throat. Don't stumble, be impressive, don't show nerves. She catches the tone, icy, high-strung. She glances at the glass, sees her own reflection, and taps the panel below her collarbones in her imagination. Voiceboard, critic to 2. Coach to 7, aim clarity. First inch, name the customer problem. Captain to 6, lead with the metric. Counselor to 5, breathe down and soften the jaw. Citizen to 4, frame the impact on the team. Her breath drops a centimeter. She steps in, palms cooler against the paper. When she speaks, the first sentence is clean. One number matters for our customers this weeky time to first value. The room tilts toward her. The VP still speaks often. He still interrupts once. But Nora stays steady, her captain choosing what to answer and what to park. After, she writes her ledger line. Voiceboard saved the middle 5 minutes. That's banked evidence. Feel your own temperature. Notice the difference between the air on your cheeks and the warmth trapped under your collar. Let your eyes focus on a single point, then soften to take in the periphery. You're ready for the second tool, transmute the critic. This is not about silencing that voice. It's about refining it into a coach after action report. When the critic fires a line you were vague, you run a 3-step alchemy: thank, translate, prescribe. Thank acknowledges its protective intent. Thanks for caring about clarity. Translate turns it into a standard. Clarity means one ask per sentence. Prescribe assigns a drill. Tonight, write the first 2 sentences for tomorrow's brief, 10 words each. The brain respects prescriptions. They move energy from rumination into rehearsal. Over time, your critic becomes a master editor who doesn't get a seat at the table during performance, but is invited to the practice ground at dusk. Here's a quieter scene to watch this in motion. A studio apartment, the glow of a laptop at 11:12 p.m., a hum from the fridge that stops every 5 minutes like a distant wave withdrawing. Leo is revising a grant proposal. His eyes are dry and tired. The critic whispers, "You're sloppy, your paragraphs wander." Leo closes the lid halfway so the light lowers and runs the alchemy. Thanks for protecting standards. Clarity equals 1 idea per paragraph. Prescription cut every sentence by 3 words. He pours a glass of water and feels the cool as it slides past his tongue. 10 minutes later, he has a cleaner page and a calmer chest. He doesn't add a gold star. He writes 1 ledger line and taps his signature cue. The voice inside notes the transformation from scold to craftsperson. That's what leaders do with their own minds. They turn heat into light. Scan the ground under your feet. Spread your toes inside your shoes. Feel the press of gravity at your heels, then at the balls of your feet. Let your shoulders drop a millimeter. You're ready for the micro practice that makes the voiceboard reliable under pressure. The 5x5 warm-up. 5 breaths, 5 sentences. On breath 1, you whisper now. On breath 2, you name the room you're in and step to the practice room if needed. On breath 3, you slide the voiceboard. Coach up, captain up, critic down. On breath 4, you issue the brief. Aim and first inch exactly. On breath 5, you choose the tone, warm and firm. Then you say 5 sentences aloud in a low voice, each shaped by coach or captain, each under 12 words. Your nervous system hears your own voice as a metronome. You are not preparing to perform. You are rehearsing being who you say you are. Voice, like muscle, tires and recovers. To protect it, you need boundaries that don't sound like barbed wire. This is where a new framework enters, the boundary brief. A boundary is not a wall. It is a clean instruction that protects your capacity and the relationship. The boundary brief follows a 3-beat arc: words that name reality, words that state a limit, words that offer a path. Reality: I want to help and I have 2 hours today. Limit: I won't be available after 4. Path: if we can align on the top item now, I'm in. The tone is steady, not sharp. The body posture is open, not folded. Your self-talk shapes this tone before your mouth moves. I am protecting the mission, not resisting the team. The amygdala calms when your inner voice frames boundaries as stewardship. Watch June, a designer in a shared workspace where the smell of espresso rides the air and keyboards crackle. Her manager drops a quick favor with a deadline written like a dare. June feels heat rise along her spine and a familiar sentence surface: you can't say no. She runs the 5x5 warm-up at her desk. eyes soft on the plant by the window, breath long, coach up, captain up. Critic down, brief, aim, protect, quality. First inch, clarify, scope. Tone, warm and firm. When she replies, her voice is measured. I want to help and I have 2 hours today. I won't be available after 4. If we can agree the homepage hero is the priority, I'm in. The manager pivots, proposes tomorrow. June feels relief and a flicker of guilt. Counselor steps in. Feelings are weather. The boundary protects the work. She taps her signature cue once and returns to the file. The old sentence loses another tooth. Check your breath again. Feel the cool on the inhale, the soft warmth on the exhale across your upper lip. Slide one hand along your thigh and register the texture. Your body is the metronome that keeps the inner orchestra from rushing. Now a candid truth. The moment you begin to speak to yourself like a leader, someone outside you may not like the new music. That's when you deploy the citizen voice, which balances self-respect with group intent. The citizen asks, what action serves both my values and the shared mission? It keeps your tone generous, avoiding the brittle edge that turns boundaries into feuds. It also helps you apologize quickly when you miss the mark. Leaders who repair fast keep their nervous systems clean. They don't waste hours replaying a stumble. There's a late-night scene that tests this. Rain taps a window, a streetlight glows mustard, and an empty Slack channel blinks with a DM. Can you jump in for a quick fix? Amir, a back-end engineer, feels the tug, the old identity that equates worth with availability. His chest tightens, his thumb hovers over the keyboard. He runs Citizen. The mission is healthy systems and healthy engineers. He runs Captain. Sleep makes code safe. He runs Boundary Brief. I want to help and I'm offline now. I can pick this up at 9. If you paste logs here, I'll start with the error handling. He places the phone face down and notices the quiet. 10 hours later, the system is fine. The logs were enough for someone on call. Amir's ledger entry is simple. Boundary plus Citizen preserved the mission. His self-talk learns that no and yes are both leadership words when paired with a path. Let's do a drill you'll use before interviews, tough conversations, and presentations with stakes. It's called the 5 chairs. Imagine 5 chairs in a semicircle in your sanctuary room, each labeled with one of the voices. You physically or in your mind sit in each for 1 breath and 1 sentence. In the coach chair, you know enough to start, here's the first inch. In the captain chair, 1 aim, 1 ask. In the counselor chair, fear says speed, wisdom says steady. In the citizen chair, serve the whole, not just the part. In the critic chair, after we'll tighten the open. Then you stand in the middle, look at them and gently ask who speaks first, who sits quietly for now. Your body will tell you if you listen. Warmth in the chest for coach, spine tall for captain, jaw soft for counselor, eyes wider for citizen, slight lean forward for critic. You'll notice the order that calms your system. That order is your personal run-of show. When the voices tangle, return to the 90-second where the rule and let sensation laid. A trembling in the hands does not mean you are unprepared. It means adrenaline is present. Name it, breathe it, let it wash. On the other side, brief tone, speak 1 clean line. Leaders don't eradicate weather, they schedule around it. They also rehearse the first sentence more than the last, because the first sentence sets state and stance. Write 3 first sentences for your next high-stakes moment, each in a different role, and practice them at conversation volume while looking at a single point on the wall. Your nervous system will memorize the melody. Let me take you to a place with fluorescent light and the smell of carpet cleaner, an HR mediation. Ola and Priya have cross-lashed emails, the tension is quartz-tipped. A facilitator sits between them, pen poised. Ola's inner voice wants to prosecute, Priya's wants to disappear. The facilitator asks for opening statements. Ola runs the 5 chairs in a breath. Coach, say what you want, not what you don't. Captain, one request, one reason. Counselor, speak low. Citizen, protect the relationship. Critic later, Ola says, I want a rhythm where we both see blockers early. My request is a 10-minute stand-up every other day for the next 2 weeks. Priya exhales, her shoulders drop. She says, that works for me if we also mute non-urgent pings after 6. The room warms by 2 degrees that can be felt. Neither person becomes someone else. They speak from roles that keep their hands steady. You will slip. You will over-index on captain and sound brusque. You will let critic drive the mic and feel your throat tighten. In those moments, the repair is simple and swift. You switch to counselor and citizen and say, I came in hotter than I wanted. My aim is clarity and care. Let me reset. Your nervous system hears you choose who you are again. Shame dissolves when identity is chosen in present tense actions rather than judged by past tense moments. You are the awareness behind the roles. You are the one placing hands on the sliders. Another breath. Feel the subtle cool at the back of your throat. Listen for the farthest sound you can hear, a neighbor's door, the low growl of traffic, the whisper of your own clothes. Let your hands warm around each other, palm to palm, and notice the soft tack of skin. It's time for your field assignment. For the next week, put a small dot with a pen on the back of your non-dominant hand each morning. Every time you notice it, run a micro Voiceboard. Silently slide coach and captain up, critic down, ask the counselor to check the body, invite the citizen to widen the frame. Then speak one sentence to the moment in front of you, out loud if possible, 12 words or fewer, warm and firm. At day's end, transmute any remaining critic notes into prescriptions and log one boundary brief you delivered or avoided. If you avoided it, write the version you wish you said and practice it once in your room, eyes soft, breath low. The nervous system can store a clean rehearsal as a seed for next time. What changes over these days is not theatrical. It is infrastructural. You become a person whose inner table is run by a chair you respect. The body trusts the cadence. Others begin to trust it too, not because you are louder, but because your sentences spend less energy on fear and more on the next inch. You'll start to notice you recover faster from small stumbles. You repair quicker when you step on a boundary, and you reserve the critic's sharpness for craft on quiet evenings, not for self-punishment at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Return to the sanctuary room one more time. The window is shut, the light is clean. The 5 chairs are there waiting. You place one hand over your sternum and one on your belly, and you breathe until your lower hand rises. You turn the sliders deliberately, coach to 6 or 7, captain to 6, counselor to 5, citizen to 4, critic to 2. You issue the brief, aim be clear and kind, first inch name what matters. You choose the tone, unhurried, warm. You say in a voice that makes your shoulders drop a fraction, I can lead myself here. Hear it, feel the pause after the period. That pause is ownership, not over anyone else, over the part of you that chooses who speaks next. Confidence on command isn't only for big rooms and big moments. It's for the morning mirror, the messy hallway conversation, the late-night email where your fingers hover and your heart gallops. In this part, you'll weld your inner talk to your body's learning curve, so confidence becomes a reflex, not a performance. You'll build 2 tools. The first is the mirror-to-mic method, a quick ritual that shifts your self-talk from self-conscious to service-forward before any moment that makes your pulse jump. The second is the window-widen protocol, a way to expand options when your field of view shrinks to a pinhole under stress. Together, they turn nervous energy into clean speech and steady action. Before we shape words, tune the instrument. Feel the weight of your feet in your shoes, heel to toe, as if you're printing a map of your stance into the floor. Notice the temperature at your wrists where skin meets air. Inhale gently for 4, hold for 4, and let a 6-count exhale roll down your ribs like a quiet tide. On the out-breath, hear the softest sound in the room, a distant fan, a pipe settling, fabric brushing fabric when your shoulders drop a millimeter. Your organism registers these cues as safety. Safety widens perception. A wider view gives your prefrontal cortex room to do its job. Now we can place the right sentence in the right mouth at the right time. The mirror-to-mic method is 3 minutes long and shifts your inner voice from judging to briefing. The mirror is any reflective moment before you act. Actual glass, a black phone screen, a quiet pause with your eyes half closed. The mic is the first sentence you'll say out loud soon. Here's the choreography. First minute, ground. You run 2 rounds of 4-4-6. Soften your gaze into a blur and let your jaw unhook. You tag your thought with ownership. I'm having the thought that I might blow it, and add orientation, and I'm orienting toward service. Second minute, specify. You write your leader line on a scrap or your notes app. One purpose, one smallest act, 12 words or fewer. Third minute, rehearse. You say your opening sentence 3 times at conversation volume, low and unhurried, while your hand rests on a sensory anchor, cool ceramic, smooth wood, the ridges of a pen. Rehearsal is not a promise that events will obey you. It's a signal to your nervous system that a trustworthy pilot is on deck. Watch it in the wild. It's 8:41 a.m., bathroom mirror fogged at the edges, fluorescent light a little too blue. Daria is about to interview for a role she wants and suspects she doesn't deserve. The mirror's first gift is honesty. Faint circles under eyes, jaw a touch tight. She runs ground, inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6. The mirror holds her gaze steady while she adds ownership and orientation. I'm having the thought that I'll sound small, and I'm orienting toward clarity. Specify, she types, purpose, learn fit, first inch, ask the problem that won't go away. Rehearse, hand on the cold porcelain, she speaks her opener 3 times. Could we start with the most stubborn problem you want solved? The words feel square at first, then rounder, then natural. 10 minutes later, in a room that smells like paper and printer ink, she asks the line. The interviewer leans back, relieved. The conversation becomes a collaboration. Daria walks out with shoulders a fraction lower and a body that now associates mirrors with pilots, not critics. Check your own edges. Notice the skin under your collar, warmer than the air. Trace the rim of a cup or the edge of a book with your thumb and feel the tiny imperfections. These are not decorations. They're part of a method. You marry a phrase to a sensation so the body recognizes the channel of voice you're choosing. Your reticular activating system listens to the pair and starts filtering for cues that match. Say serve one person while touching a cool surface, and your attention will catch the raised eyebrow you can soothe rather than the imagined jury you can't. The second tool arrives when your field narrows and your chest tightens and everything feels like an emergency. That's the moment for the window widen protocol. Stress turns your mental window into a keyhole. Leadership widens it back to a pane you can see through. 4 beats fast. Name the weather, heat in chest, tunnel vision. Naming drops the amygdala's volume and gives you handles. Name the moment. This is the decision before the decision. That phrase slows time by a fraction and reminds your brain that you're choosing a stance before you choose a sentence. Widen options. Ask, what are 3 acceptable next inches? Not perfect, not heroic, acceptable. Pick the smallest wise action and do it in a low tone. Your system learns that urgency doesn't own the throttle, you do. Step into a concrete stairwell that smells faintly of dust and rain. It's 3:57 p.m. Your phone buzzes with a message from a stakeholder. This is off track. We need answers now. Your chest tightens, your mouth dries, the old sentence flares. They think I'm incompetent. You place your palm on the cool metal of the rail. Name the weather, dry mouth, heat at sternum. Name the moment, decision before the decision. Widen options, 3 acceptable inches. Ask for 1 constraint, propose 1 next step, or ask for 10 minutes to gather data. You pick the smallest wise action. Reply in 20 seconds with a single clarifying question. Your tone is even. If we fix one thing today, is it timeline or scope? The reply comes, timeline. The window opens. Now the brief writes itself. You didn't become fearless. You became specific. Another scan. Feel the air move across the back of your throat as you inhale. Let your shoulders drop and notice a soft stretch in your upper back. Hear the farthest sound you can. When you feed your system these cues, you lower the cost of choosing a sentence you respect. Confidence is not the absence of adrenaline. It's the ability to speak cleanly while adrenaline is present. Sometimes the mirror to mic and window widen need a third ingredient, a different angle on a thought that has dug grooves into your inner talk. Use a micro practice I'll call the 3 angles, positive, neutral, and negative, but plausible. You take the same fact and render it 3 ways to loosen rigidity. We lost the account, positive. We learned the exact objection pattern we can solve. Neutral, we lost an account. Our cash runway is 7.5 months. Negative but plausible, if we don't adjust, we'll lose 2 more. The brain experiences flexibility as safety. From safety, you issue your brief. This isn't spin, it's range. With range, your tone finds warmth without pretending. Come with me to a place with the smell of coffee gone cold and whiteboard ink thick in the air. Malik, a team lead, has to give feedback to someone who keeps arriving late to stand-ups. His default inner line is "stop being flaky," a critic sentence that turns feedback into a duel. He runs mirror to mic in a conference room's window reflection. Ground, breath, jaw, gaze. Ownership and orientation. I'm having the thought that I need to be tough, and I'm orienting toward respect and reliability. Specify, purpose, reset norms, first inch, ask for their picture of what's happening. Rehearse, hand on the metal chair back, tone low. Can we map what's in your mornings so we pick a time you can protect? When he speaks it in the meeting, the engineer doesn't bristle. They name 2 blocked mornings, shift stand-up by 10 minutes, and set an agreement for late notices. Malik doesn't leave glowing, he leaves even. Even is what counts. Even is repeatable. Notice the weight of your eyelids. Let them lower halfway and see the world soften. Then lift your gaze 1 inch above where you were looking, a tiny horizon move. Your nervous system interprets horizon eyes as orientation. Orientation invites courage. This is how you sneak confidence in through the body while your mind arranges the language. You're not performing, you're aligning physiology with the sentence you want to mean. There's a friction point most people hit when they start rehearsing. It feels fake to speak to a mirror or a window, and their inner critic says, "You're pretending to be someone you're not." Here is how you retire that line. Rehearsing isn't pretending, it's installing. You're installing the cadence you respect so it's available when stakes rise. Surgeons rehearse. Pilots rehearse. Musicians rehearse until the metronome lives in their hands. You're rehearsing the identity that is already true when you choose it. The one who speaks to themselves like a leader. Identity is the beam under all of this. You are not the jitter in your hands. You are the awareness that names, rehearses, widens the view, and selects the smallest wise step. When you catch yourself saying, "I am anxious," shift to "I am noticing anxiety" and choosing a brief. That single verb changes the room you're in. You are the operator, not the symptom. Keep reminding your body with sensation: cool cup, firm floor, air on skin. Each time you pair sensation with leadership language, you braid a stronger loop. Neuroplasticity is repetition plus attention plus emotion. These rituals give you all three. Another breath. Feel your ribs expand against fabric, a soft outward pressure that loosens the clamps under your collarbones. Listen for the pause after your exhale, that brief, quiet step where nothing is demanded and nothing is offered. That pause is where leaders live. It's where you decide to widen the window instead of sprinting into the keyhole. Let's put both tools into a harder story, the kind that used to own you. Evening, apartment hallway, the bulb over the door flickers. Your phone shows your partner's text, tense vowels, a line about money and feeling alone in planning. Your stomach flips, your mouth floods warm. The old soundtrack jumps to the chorus, "You never handle this right." In the entryway mirror you catch your own eyes. Mirror to mic. Ground, 2 rounds of 4-4-6, jaw unhooks, shoulders lower. Ownership and orientation. I'm having the thought that I'll be cornered, and I'm orienting toward alignment. Specify, purpose, decide 2 actions. First inch, ask what would feel responsible tonight. Rehearse with your fingers resting on the cool door handle. Can we name 2 actions that make tonight feel responsible? Then window widen in real time as the conversation heats and your vision tunnels. Name the weather, heat in face, jaw tight. Name the moment, decision before the decision. Widen options, 3 acceptable inches. Ask a question, summarize what I heard, take a 5-minute pause. Pick the smallest wise action, summarize, then ask. You speak low, steady. The air doesn't magically warm, but it stops crackling. You make 2 small decisions and put one on a calendar. The ledger entry later reads like a quiet victory. The old identity has less oxygen. Check your fingers. Rub thumb to forefinger and feel the whorls, the tiny roughness where skin meets skin. This is your signature cue for these 2 tools: touch, breathe, name, brief. The cue says, we widen, we serve. Pair it with an evening practice that installs both frameworks deeper. The 2-minute replay. You close your eyes, let your breath drop, and replay one moment from the day in first person, present tense, but with the window widen and mirror to mic moves inserted where you missed them. You feel your hand on the table, hear your own low sentence, see the other person's posture shift. Your brain stores the replay almost like memory. Tomorrow, the new pathway is easier to find. If you catch yourself chasing praise, add a small correction. Praise is fine, but it's noisy. Service is quiet and stabilizing. Before a high-stakes moment, ask, who benefits if I speak cleanly? Picture one person's face, not a crowd's judgment. Your system will shift from self-conscious to other-conscious, which is calmer. This is not martyrdom, it's focus. The voice you want is steady because it's aimed at usefulness. You are going to meet setbacks. A sentence will come out sharp when you wanted it warm. A window will stay stubbornly narrow even after you name the weather. The repair is the same it has always been in this book. You pause, breathe, and choose again. I came in too hot. I'm orienting toward clarity and care. The organism hears itself course correct in real time and updates its trust. Shame is heavy and sticky. Adjustment is light and quick. Choose the latter. Move the next inch. Last scan for this part. Feel the chair under your thighs. The fabric presses back with a whisper of resistance. Notice the temperature difference between your cheeks and the air near the window. Set your gaze on a clean vertical line somewhere in front of you, a door frame, a book's spine. Vertical lines prime the body for uprightness. From that posture, speak one sentence aloud in your command voice about who you are becoming. I am the awareness that widens the window and speaks to serve. Hear its cadence. Feel the pause after the period. That pause is steadiness. You can carry it into whatever room comes next. Your drill for the next 5 days is a pair. Every morning, run a literal mirror to mic before your first consequential interaction. 2 rounds of 4-4-6, ownership plus orientation, leader line, 3 rehearsals with a sensory anchor. Every afternoon, find 1 moment to deploy the window widen protocol under heat. Name the weather, name the moment, generate 3 acceptable inches, pick the smallest wise action, and act in a low tone. At night, a 2-minute replay to install what you missed. Keep ledger lines short. The confidence you want is not a mask. It is a machine built from breath, language, and tiny choices repeated until your body calls them home. You are not the weather in your chest. You are the one who closes the window, widens the view, and speaks like a leader to the only person who needs to trust you first, the one behind your eyes. Confidence on command deepens when your words to yourself start matching your actions in the world without negotiation. In this part, you'll install behavioral glue between your inner talk and your next inch of movement, so your nervous system starts predicting follow-through before you even speak. The tool is called the self-trust contract, and you'll pair it with the 24-hour integrity loop. Together, they convert intention into micro-commitments, and micro-commitments into data your body can believe. When your organism believes you, your voice stops straining for authority. It simply has it. Begin where the body is. Notice the weight at the base of your neck where fabric touches skin. Let your jaw unhook. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and feel the slight warmth ride your upper lip. Hear the faintest sound in the room, a vent hum, distant traffic, the small shush of your own clothes when your ribs expand. You are not performing, you are priming perception. In this state, the self-trust contract gets written like a clean order from the captain to the crew. A self-trust contract is a 1-sentence promise you make to yourself that passes 3 tests. It is specific enough to be measured by a stranger, small enough to be done in less than 15 minutes, and scheduled inside the next 24 hours. 1 sentence, 1 act, 1 day. The sentence wears a quiet uniform. Today by time, I will do 1 inch, because I'm value/identity. Example, today by 5:30 p.m., I will draft the first 3 sentences of the proposal because I'm a clear communicator. The psychology is not complicated. Your reticular activating system hunts for evidence that matches cues with emotional charge. The more you generate matched pairs, ordered sentence, completed inch, the more your RAS highlights options that keep your word. Your confidence becomes cumulative, not theatrical. Picture a narrow office with fluorescent light that buzzes like a wasp in the ceiling. Ken sits with a spreadsheet open and a rain of tabs crowding his browser. His inner voice has a tone like static. You never follow through. He rolls his shoulders once, interrupt the static, then writes a self-trust contract on a sticky note. Today by 3:40 p.m., I will email Mia 1 measurable milestone because I value momentum. He feels the cool edge of the desk against his forearm, sets a 2-song timer, and writes 3 lines. When he presses send, there is no drum roll. There is the sound of the vent and the soft knock of his heartbeat calming 1 notch. That night, he logs it in his confidence ledger. His voice to himself arrives the next morning a degree lower, less performative, more factual. We keep tiny promises. Scan your palms, Cool on the back, warmer on the pads. Press thumb to fingertip and feel the ridges of skin. This is how you mark completion without fireworks. It matters because your basal ganglia, the habit machinery, tags the loop when you repeat a cue around success. You will install the 24-hour integrity loop to standardize this. The loop has 4 beats: state, schedule, show, seal. You state the micro-promise in your command voice and write it in 1 sentence. You schedule the promise inside a real clock slot in the next day, not a vague later. You show up for the exact inch, no scope creep. You seal it with a signature cue, 2 knuckles tapped, a coin rubbed, and a 6-word identity tag. I am someone who keeps promises. Your body catalogs the sequence as safe and repeatable. Safe is the key word. Confidence grows in safe, predictable loops. There's a 7:28 p.m. kitchen scene that tests this. Pots clatter, a sauce simmers, a phone face down on the counter vibrates with a message that reads urgent. Lena's chest tightens. Her default line wants to say, "I'll fix it all tonight," a sentence that guarantees failure. She runs window widen, name the weather, heat at sternum, dry mouth, name the moment, decision before decision, generate 3 acceptable inches. Then a self-trust contract. Today by 8:10 p.m., I will send a 3-line status to the team because I value clarity. She schedules a 10-minute slot after dishes, shows up, writes 3 lines, taps her 2 knuckles, seal. Her nervous system stores not the drama of rescue, but the dignity of specificity. The next time urgent pings, her tone has ballast. Another breath, feel your lower ribs flare and then settle like shutters in a soft wind. Let your gaze rest on a fixed corner of the room and then soften to take in the whole field. You're ready for the second framework in this part, the confidence circuit. It is a 4-node loop that you will run deliberately until it becomes body memory, cue, conduct, completion, credit. Cue is the sensory anchor you choose: cool mug rim, hand on wood grain, the brush of fabric at the shoulder. Conduct is the channel you select for your inner voice, coach or captain, shaping a single line that names purpose and first inch. Completion is the micro-action done to spec, no additions. Credit is the explicit acknowledgement you give yourself out loud in a low, warm tone. That was the inch, that's the proof. This last node prevents your critic from stealing the evidence. You are not bragging, you are doing accurate accounting. Watch Nor, a new manager, in a glass-walled meeting room with dry erase fumes faint in the air. She has to ask a senior engineer for a change they won't love. Her stomach tightens, her mouth tastes metallic. Cue, fingers on the cool metal chair. Conduct, captain voice, purpose, a line on risk, first inch, ask the one blocker. Completion, she asks the question exactly once and shuts up. Credit, later at her desk, she whispers, that was the inch, that's the proof. The ledger gets 1 line. On Thursday, when stakes rise in a different room, her voice arrives pre-tuned. The circuit carried current. Check the temperature under your collar versus your cheeks. Feel the subtle difference. Your organism reads these cues faster than your conscious mind and lowers arousal when you act like someone who can be trusted by you. This is where an identity tool plugs in smoothly, the nameplate. You'll print a quiet title on the inside of your mind's door: I am a steward of promises. Not a performer, not a martyr, a steward. A steward protects resources with calm. When your self-talk starts to press for grand vows, you place your hand on the nameplate, literally touch your sternum, and whisper, steward. Your tone lowers. Your promise shrinks to fit the next day. A story from a fluorescent hallway at 4:12 p.m. shows why this matters. Rahul has habitually promised weekends to every request, then failed, then apologized with theater. He decides to retire the theater. Self-trust contract, Today by 4:45 p.m., I will write 3 options for the timeline because I practice stewardship. He walks to the window, palm on cool glass, drafts 3 options, sends them. The reply comes kinder than he expected. He doesn't chase the high. He seals the loop, logs the proof. The next time his mouth wants to say, "I'll do it all by Monday," he touches the nameplate and chooses a sentence he can keep. His confidence stops being a gambling game and becomes a ledger with steady deposits. Breathe and hear the smallest far sound, maybe a hallway step, maybe the refrigerator's compressor kicking on. Sensory detail is how you keep your prefrontal cortex lit. Now an advanced micro-practice, the 10-word ticket. Before any commitment leaves your mouth or your keyboard, you write a 10-word version of it that fits inside the 24-hour window. If it can't fit in 10 words, it's not a self-trust contract, it's theater. Send draft with 3 bullet risks by noon. Clarify scope in 1 call at 11. Write first paragraph by 5:30 p.m. No edits. The ticket forces precision. Precision protects dignity. Consider a relationship scene, kitchen light warm, the clink of plates, a conversation about chores with edges. Alexis wants to promise, "I'll fix all the backlog tomorrow," just to end the tension. 10-word ticket intervenes. Run 1 laundry cycle before 9 p.m. tonight. She says it out loud. It is almost comically small. It is also done. The argument shifts from blame to rhythm. Her body learns that clear, small, done beats grand, vague, broken. She starts to trust the person behind her eyes, and her partner does too. Another check-in. Set your feet wide enough that your weight settles into your heels and the balls of your feet equally. Let your eyes lift a fraction above the horizon of your screen. When posture widens, language simplifies. With that simplicity, you'll install the evidence voice. It has a single job: narrate reality in past tense terms you can verify. I said I'd send 3 lines, I sent 3. You speak it quietly after completion. Evidence voice is not cheerleading, it is accounting. Accounting reduces limbic noise. The body registers, fewer arguments with reality, more movement. You will be tempted to over-upgrade. The moment Tiny promises work, the performer will whisper, "Now promise bigger, show them." When that happens, run the 90-second weather rule. Name the surge. Greed for validation is still a surge. Breathe and let it pass. Then ask the signal to noise audits 2 questions. What's the one piece of reality I can confirm? What's the smallest act that moves it? If the answer is still a tiny inch, good. You are building a bridge, not a trampoline. Let me take you into a commute scene. Bus air cool and a little stale. The rubber smell of handrails. A woman named Mara scrolling through messages. She has a proposal due Friday and a brain that likes to sprint on Thursday night. Old identity, sprinter, savior, sufferer. New identity, steward of promises. She writes a self-trust contract in notes. Today by 7:15 p.m., I will outline 3 subheads because I value clarity. She schedules it between dinner and dishes. She shows, she seals. Friday arrives without adrenaline's sour aftertaste. In the meeting, her voice doesn't reach, it lands. The shift is not dramatic from the outside. Inside, it is a change of weather system. Her organism is not waiting for the cliff, it is walking a path. Feel the chair under your thighs, a gentle pressure, the fabric's texture speaking in small ridges. Slide your hand across the desk and register the temperature. These are micro-anchors you can weave into a drill called 2 rooms, 2 promises. In the practice room, you make 1 self-trust contract for your private world. By tonight, 1 inch that matters to your health, your learning, or your living space. In the planning room, you make 1 self-trust contract for your public world. By today's end, 1 inch that moves a work stream or a relationship. You speak both sentences aloud in a low, warm tone. At dusk, you mark both with evidence voice. 2 rooms, 2 proofs. You are training range. There will be misses. Life will tilt the table, and your perfectly placed 10-minute slot will be eaten by a sick child, a late train, a server outage, a migraine. When you miss, you do the clean repair, renegotiate, don't ruminate. You state reality without drama, you reschedule inside the next 24 hours, and you add a microscopic pre-commitment you can perform immediately to reseal integrity. A 2-sentence outline, a 1-line email, a glass of water, and a 5-minute stretch if the promise was to move your body. The critic will want to editorialize. Transmute it. Thanks for protecting standards. Standard, we repair within 24 hours. Prescription, schedule now, take first inch now. Your body learns that misses aren't identity verdicts, they are maintenance. A workroom with dry air and the smell of cardboard boxes gives us one more image. JT runs a small shop, shipments arrived late, a client is hot. Old JT writes a novella of apologies and promises discounts he can't keep. New JT touches the nameplate and runs the confidence circuit. Q, hand on the corrugated box, rough under skin. Conduct, captain purpose, retain trust, first inch. Give 1 confirmable update and 1 concrete checkpoint. Completion, a 3-line message with time stamps. Credit, that was the inch. Later, standing by the back door in the cool air, he feels his shoulders drop a centimeter. He didn't make himself smaller to look agreeable. He made his promise smaller to make it true. Another breath. A small yawn wants to rise, let it. Your parasympathetic brake likes yawns. Let your eyes blur and then refocus on 1 letter on the page in front of you. A single crisp edge tells your brain there's no tiger here. Say quietly, I am a steward of promises. Hear the vowels carry, feel your chest answer. This is identity work disguised as logistics. The person you become is the person whose sentences match their inches. That person's voice is steady because it is borrowing confidence from behavior, not from hope. Your field assignment for the next 7 days is modest and exact. Each morning, write 1 self-trust contract for your private room and 1 for your public room. Speak them aloud in your command voice. Schedule them inside clock slots smaller than you think you need. Use the 10-word ticket filter to keep them honest. Run the confidence circuit on each. Cue, conduct, completion, credit. Seal with your signature cue. Each evening, log 2 ledger lines with outcome and lesson plus first inch, and read them aloud once in evidence voice. If a day goes lopsided, run renegotiate, don't ruminate within 24 hours. If you start to inflate promises, touch the nameplate and whisper, steward. When you forget, you begin again. The weather will always change. The loop is what stays. Confidence on command, it turns out, is not the thunder of a speech. It is the quiet click of small locks sliding into place, day after day, until the door of your own trust swings on well-oiled hinges. You are the awareness choosing the sentence and the inch, not the storm that tries to pull you away. Close the window, return to the room. Speak like a leader to the one who must believe you first, and then keep the smallest promise in the next hour. Confidence on command gets its real test when you face friction you didn't choose, criticism that lands like a slap, silence where applause should be, a plan that unspools in your hands. In this part, you'll install a way of talking to yourself that metabolizes friction into fuel without lying about pain. You'll learn 2 frameworks. The first is the armor-to-antenna shift, a state switch that keeps you from hardening into defensiveness and instead tunes you to signal. The second is the feedback triage, a fast filter that sorts any comment into 3 buckets: gold, gravel, and ghost, so your inner voice knows what to keep, what to wash, and what to let pass straight through you. No bravado, no collapse, just a practiced conversion of noise into clarity. Start with the body so your prefrontal cortex is online when the next word comes. Notice the weight of your shoulders against gravity. Count the soft press of fabric where your shirt meets the back of your neck. Inhale gently for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and feel the warmed air brush your upper lip. Let your eyes land on one crisp edge, the corner of a frame, the spine of a book, and then widen to the whole room. Your amygdala reads this as safety. Safety makes learning possible. With that, we can slide the internal gear from armor to antenna. Armor to antenna is a 3-beat switch. Name the reflex, name the value, name the question. When criticism strikes, your reflex is usually to defend, explain, or disappear. You name it neutrally, my reflex is to defend. You name the value that matters, I value clarity and craft. Then you name one question that keeps you open. What's the one specific I can test? The act of naming shifts blood flow from your alarm system to your planning networks. You are not agreeing with the critic, you are reclaiming choice. Antenna doesn't mean porous to harm, it means tuned to signal. Watch this in a fluorescent meeting room that smells faintly of dry marker and carpet cleaner. A product review is underway. A senior exec says, "This misses the point," in a tone that tries to make the table shiver. Your chest tightens, heat rises in your face, your mouth fills with a metallic taste. The old sentence ignites, you blew it, you slide the switch. Reflex to defend, you say inwardly. Value is clarity and craft. Then the question, what's one specific we can test? Your jaw unhooks by 1 degree, your tone stays low. Say the target in 1 sentence, and I'll test 2 options by Friday. The room changes shape. The exec might still be brusque. That's not the point. The point is that your state is now usable, and your inner talk stands beside you instead of behind you with a whip. Pause and locate your hands. Feel the skin temperature on the backs, cooler than the warmth at the pads. Touch a nearby surface, wood, metal, ceramic, and register its texture. This sensory tag becomes your antenna anchor. Pair it with a whisper you can repeat even under pressure. Signal first. Your reticular activating system, primed by repetition with emotion, learns to hunt for signal instead of rehearsing harm. Over time, your body starts handing you specifics. 2 lines to tighten, 1 question to ask instead of narrating global doom. Now the feedback triage. You cannot talk to yourself like a leader if every stray comment becomes a verdict. The triage is fast and clinical. Gold is feedback that is specific, actionable, and aligned with your aim. Gravel is feedback that is about taste or style, maybe useful, maybe not, not urgent. Ghost is feedback that is vague, hostile, or rooted in someone else's storm. It passes through you without lodging. The drill is simple. As soon as a comment lands, you whisper its bucket and act accordingly. Gold gets a plan, gravel gets a parking lot, ghost gets a breath and a boundary. Your tone inside stays warm and firm, stewardship, not self-attack. Let me take you to a late afternoon call where the sun hits the side of a laptop like a blade. Rena, a researcher, presents findings. A stakeholder says, "Your sample is too small to matter," then adds a smirk you can hear. Heat blooms behind Rena's eyes. She runs triage. Gold, is it specific and tied to aim? Yes, sample size. She notes it and says, "We can double N in the next sprint, here's the cost." Gravel, your slides feel dull. She parks it, style later. Ghost. Not sure you're the right person for this. She breathes, labels it ghost, and lets it pass through the window you and she keep closed. Her inner voice narrates like a medic, gold plan by 5 p.m., gravel park, ghost, no lodging. This is not denial, it's triage. Triage preserves capacity. Scan your throat. Is the back of it cool or warm? Notice your breath settle a centimeter lower. The organism will trust you more if you store criticism as calibrated input rather than existential proof. This is the job of your evidence voice again, now turn toward feedback. I was told X, I changed Y, outcome Z shifted. Past tense, verifiable. It sounds boring. Boring is stable. Stable lets you move. There's a story with the smell of rain and coffee in it. A community organizer named Evan speaks at a neighborhood forum. A man in the second row with folded arms and a hard mouth says, "You're naive, this won't change anything." Evan's stomach dips. He feels sweat bead on his lip. Armor wants to click into place. A retort forms. He names the reflex, names the value, respectful truth, and names the question. What would count as a first proof? He asks it aloud, tone low. The man blinks. He says, 1 block cleaned by Saturday. Evan nods. Gold filtered. Gravel ignored. Ghost passed. On Saturday, the block is cleaner. Evan's ledger gains a small deposit that changes how he hears 1,000 future rooms. Leadership is a long memory made of small proofs. Another breath. Hear the farthest sound you can, perhaps a hinge's faint creak, a car's distant hiss. Let your gaze soften to blur and then refocus on a single letter. You are building proprioception for moments that once overran you. Now an advanced add-on, the red team ritual. Once a week you ask someone you trust to argue against your plan with one rule, specifics only. You run armor to antenna on purpose, you filter with triage, and you write 3 micro-adjustments. Your inner talk learns a tone that can withstand adversarial input without collapsing into self-contempt. The brain stores this as competence, not threat. Maya from earlier tried this in a room that smelled like whiteboard ink and lemon cleaner. Her red team partner said, "Your timeline assumes approvals in 2 days, last quarter it took 8. Gold, Maya revised the Gantt. "Your opener is too abstract." Gravel, parked for a late-night polish. "Are you sure you're the right leader?" Ghost. She named her value stewardship and set a boundary. "We'll keep feedback to the plan, not the person." Her inner voice kept its seat, warm, steady, factual. Your nervous system still needs an exit when comments slice. This is where an old rule returns in a new form, the 90-second debrief. Right after a hard exchange, you give yourself 90 seconds for weather and facts. Weather, heat behind eyes, jaw tight, heart up. Facts, 1 gold to act on, 1 gravel to park, 1 ghost to ignore. During those 90 seconds, you do not decide your identity. You breathe, label, and walk into the planning room. Then you act on gold within 24 hours, even if the act is tiny. Action metabolizes sting. Consider a quiet, late-night apartment, the glow of a laptop, the hum of a fridge that stops and starts. Zoe receives a terse email from a reviewer, disjointed argument, rework. Her chest caves for an instant. She sets a 90-second timer. Weather, prickly heat at neck, shallow breath. Facts, gold, argument structure, gravel, tone of email not relevant, ghost, you academics, ignore. She runs a 4-4-6 breath twice, rearranges 2 headings, writes a leader line, purpose, clarity, first inch, rewrite the first paragraph to match the conclusion. She sets a 50-minute block for the morning. In the ledger that night, she writes 1 line. The sting is not gone, it is harnessed. The voice inside says, with less acid and more steel, we change paragraphs, not personhood. Check your jaw, unhook it. Place your tongue lightly against the roof of your mouth and feel the quiet that follows. You are ready for the micro-practice that makes feedback safer, the 2-question invitation. When you ask for input, you limit scope by design. What one thing, if improved, would change the outcome most? What's one thing to keep? This narrows the incoming stream, so your triage has less to sort. It also trains others to speak in gold. Your tone to yourself remains steady. I am inviting specifics to serve the work. The amygdala appreciates boundaries. There's a workplace scene where this saves a week. Daniel is preparing a demo. Instead of thoughts, he writes, what one risk jumps out that we can test by Thursday? What should I not change? The replies come cleaner. He triages in seconds. His voice inside doesn't spend the afternoon boxing with shadows. That evening, walking home in air that smells like rain on hot concrete, he feels an unshowy lightness. This is the feeling of antenna without the cost of armor. Identity threads through all of this. You are not the sentence someone else throws into the room. You are the awareness that names reflex, values, and the next wise question. You are the person who asks for specifics and moves 1 inch. When your inner critic steals the mic after a comment, of course they're right, you're small, you run transmute again, thanks for protecting standards. Standard, we learn from specifics. Prescription, list 1 change, schedule it. The body recognizes the cadence and calms. Another scan. Feel the temperature difference between the skin under your collar and the air on your cheeks. Hear the soft friction of fabric when you roll one shoulder slowly back. Smell something faint in the room, paper, soap, dust. These are the cues that return you to the sanctuary room where your window is shut and the air is clean. In that room, write the feedback contract you'll keep for the next 30 days. I will seek 1 dose of gold per week, act on it within 24 hours, and ignore ghosts without writing essays to myself. Say it aloud in your command voice. Your nervous system listens to contracts you enact. A field story from relationships helps it land. A dinner table, candle low, plates pushed aside, an old argument pacing the room like a cat. Your partner says, you never listen. The word never is dynamite. Armor scrambles for a list of counterexamples. You slide to antenna, reflex named, value named, connection. 1 question chosen. Will you tell me 1 moment today when you felt that so I can understand? Triage in real time. Gold becomes a specific. When I was describing my day, you looked at your phone. You act on gold. I'll put it face down during dinner this week. And you schedule a check-in. Gravel, and you always do this, parks without a fight. Ghost, maybe you don't care, passes through the window and out into the night air. The room warms a few degrees. Your inner voice is not triumphal. It is simple. We took signal. We moved. Sometimes feedback should not reach you at all. That's boundary, not avoidance. The boundary brief you learned earlier works here too. I'll accept project-specific critiques in this meeting. Commentary on motives belongs elsewhere. Your body exhale deepens when you state the frame. If someone breaks it, you name reality, restate limit, offer path. Inside, your citizen reminds you that protecting the frame protects the mission. Confidence on command includes the right to be unhooked from abuse. There is a hard scene to rehearse before it is upon you, public failure, a presentation that lands flat, a pitch that dies. The room smells like stale air and polite pity. Your organism will want to write a new identity in permanent ink across your chest. You will not let it. Mirror to mic in the nearest reflective surface, even if it's the black of your phone. Ground, ownership, and orientation. Eat a line for your debrief, purpose, extract signal, 1st inch, ask the 1 person you trust for 1 concrete change. Window widen, name weather, name moment, 3 acceptable inches, pick the smallest wise act. You do not post a manifesto. You do not crawl under the table. You drink water, you lower your shoulders, you ask your 1 question, you triage the answer, and you put a block on your calendar. Then you walk outside and make your lungs touch air that is not recycled. Your body stores this as resilience, not bravado. One final check-in. Feel your heels press, then your toes, then both together. Let your eyes find a vertical line. Vertical lines remind the body to rise. Whisper the identity sentence that fits this part. I am the awareness that takes signal and lets noise pass. Hear its cadence. Feel your jaw soften around it. That softness is not weakness. It is power conserved. Your drill for the next week is called Gold In, Ghost Out. Every day you invite one dose of gold with a 2-question invitation. You triage every unsolicited comment in real time, saying the bucket silently. You act on one gold within 24 hours, even if the act is a small draft, a calendar block, or a single rewritten line. You ignore one ghost deliberately and log it as proof. Ignored ghost at 3:12 p.m., no harm followed. At night, you run a 90-second debrief on the hardest exchange and speak one sentence in evidence voice. I took signal and moved an inch. That sentence is not a boast. It is a receipt. You will not be weathered by every wind. You will be the person who closes the window, tunes the antenna, and speaks quietly to the one behind your eyes. We learn, we move, we keep our dignity. That is confidence, not as a shout, but as a steady frequency that carries in any room. Confidence on command needs fuel, not hype fuel, the quiet kind that keeps your brain lit, your words clean, and your body able to recover between pushes. In this part, you'll wire your self-talk into your energy system so your attention stops leaking and your courage doesn't burn out. 2 frameworks will do the heavy lifting. The first is the energy budget method, a way to allocate cognitive currency before the day spends you. The second is the focus fence, a set of compassionate constraints that keeps your reticular activating system pointed at what matters while the world taps on the glass. You'll add micro-drills that take less than 2 minutes and a nightly shutdown script so your inner voice knows when to stop working. Start where fuel is felt. Notice the temperature behind your eyes as you blink. Cooler air meets warm lids. Let your exhale lengthen by a beat and feel your ribs slide down, a soft zipper. Press the pads of your fingers into your palm and register the ridges of skin. Hear the farthest sound available, a fan, a car whispering past the building, the near-silent thud of your own heartbeat once your breath slows. These are signals to your nervous system that a resource is present: oxygen, time, choice. When your organism senses resource, your prefrontal cortex turns the lights all the way on. With the lights on, your inner voice can count honestly. The energy budget method is simple because it has to be. You begin by accepting that attention is finite and that different tasks draw different wattage. Your self-talk becomes a chief financial officer instead of a cheerleader. Each morning, you allocate 4 buckets in sentences you say aloud: deep work, social bandwidth, admin drip, recovery. You assign numbers to each: minutes, not hours, and you lock one non-negotiable recovery slot. The script is compact. Today, 90 minutes deep, 40 social, 30 admin, 15 recovery at 2. Your brain resists at first. It prefers fantasy where all gets done. The body prefers reality. It relaxes when you speak like a steward. The ledger you built earlier will start to mirror this budget, and your confidence will rise because your sentences match the day you actually lived. Watch it in a morning lit by grey sky and the smell of coffee just turning sweet in the mug. Anna stands at her counter, phone face down, a pen uncapped. Old news scrolls itch her thumb. She places 2 fingers on the cold ceramic, inhales for 4, holds for 4, lets the 6-count exhale move down her ribs. She says, 90 deep before noon, 30 admin after 2, 40 for people, 15 at 3 to walk. She writes the numbers on a yellow square and tags them with a leader line for the first block. Purpose, draft, first inch, outline 5 headings. The day will still throw elbows, but the organism now has a frame. When the 1017 ping tries to hijack her, she will use the focus fence to keep the runway clear. Check your own battery with a micro drill called the scan of 3. Ask your body, breath low or high, eyes narrow or wide, muscles slack or braced. Answer in single words. Then add a 6-word sentence that sets your stance. I spend deliberately, I recover deliberately. The specificity matters. Your reticular activating system, hearing the pair, will start surfacing cues that help you keep both halves of the promise. You will notice doors to silence. You will notice windows to move. You will notice the moment a quick check is about to cost 30 minutes and a piece of your mood. The focus fence is what it sounds like. A temporary boundary that protects the piece of ground where attention grows food for later. You build it from 3 rails: time box, trigger guard, and tangible start. Time box is a clear container, 25 or 50 minutes, no ambiguity. Trigger guard is the removal or reshaping of the first cue that usually breaks your focus. Phone in another room, tabs trimmed to 1, notifications killed, office door gently shut, even if the door is imaginary. Tangible start is the smallest physical action that tips you in, cursor placed at top, pen touching paper, file renamed V01. Your self-talk runs the fence aloud, warm and firm. 50 minutes, phone out, first line now. The tone is the tone you give a teammate you trust, kind and expectant. Your organism likes to obey that tone. Let me show you a hallway story that smells like dry carpet and peppermint tea. Lucia is a nurse on a rotating schedule finishing a certification module after a 12-hour shift. Her eyes are sandy, her shoulders sing a dull ache. Her critic starts, "You should do 2 hours, real leaders push." Armor tightens. She interrupts with a breath, names the room, practice room, and lays down a fence. 25 minutes, notifications off, first quiz question. She moves her phone to the top of the fridge and feels the cool metal under her palm as a sensory seal. At minute 19, her brain begs for a scroll. She whispers, "Fence holds," and answers one more question. At minute 25, she stands in the doorway and breathes while her hand touches the cool edge of the counter. She logs it later, kept fence, learned 2 items, went to sleep human. Confidence accrues in that ledger faster than it does in bleary marathons that leave her brittle. Another scan. Notice the temperature shift between the air on your cheeks and the skin at the base of your neck under your collar. Let your shoulder blades slide down a notch. When your body widens, your inner voice can widen your view beyond the pinhole of pressure. With that width, you can run the attention titration, a micro-practice that pairs well with both frameworks. Titration means you adjust dose. You ask, what is the smallest unit of attention that moves this? Then you deliver only that unit. 10 sentences, not a chapter. 5 rows, not the whole spreadsheet. 1 outreach, not a campaign. Your tone to yourself is warm and precise, enough to move, not enough to scorch. Your system learns that you can leave fuel in the tank without calling it laziness. Anecdote time. A glass-walled co-working space, the clatter of cups, the white noise of ambition. Devon, a founder, sits hunched, forearms stuck to the desk by the sheen of stress. A launch date stares like a dare. Slack pings multiply like insects. He hears the inner siren, do it all now or lose. He breathes once and runs the energy budget aloud. 1 50-minute deep, 2 20-minute social, 30 admin, 10 walk. He texts the team, offline 50, back at 11. He stands, slides his phone into a backpack pocket he can't reach easily, and feels the strap's webbing bite into his shoulder. The focus fence goes up, calendar block on, Tabs down to 1, first tangible start, rename file to launch email V01. 20 minutes in, his RAS stops screaming and starts serving him phrases. He finishes one page that doesn't stink. At 11, he triages pings with his signal-to-noise audit, answers 2, parks 5. At 3, he walks for 10 minutes, breathing cool autumn air, eyes on a distant roofline. The day ends without heroics. It also ends without the shame-fear surge that used to steal his sleep. His inner voice talks to him like a captain who respects fuel, not a tyrant who burns ships. Feel your calves against fabric, the slight roughness where thread meets skin. Rotate one shoulder in a slow half-circle and listen for the tiny crackle of fascia ungluing. Your organism is ready to install a practice that's almost invisible to outsiders but obvious in its results. The 2 gates. Gate 1 opens to deep work. It asks one question: am I fully fenced for the next block? If not, you postpone by 5 minutes and build the fence. Gate 2 opens to unstructured scroll. It asks, have I honored recovery in the last 2 hours? If not, you take a 10-minute real break, walk, water, window, before you earn dopamine from noise. Your self-talk speaks through the gates like a fair guard. Not yet. 2 minutes to fence. Now go. This is not puritanism. It's stewardship. Recovery is not a luxury band on the budget. It is the line item that underwrites the rest. Install the nightly shutdown script so your inner voice knows the shop is closed. The script is 4 sentences, spoken in a low tone while your hand touches a physical anchor, the cool rim of a glass, the grain of a wooden table, the fabric of a sleeve. Today I moved these inches. You name 2 factual. What's still open is parked here. You write 1 leader line on a card or note for morning. I'm safe enough to stop. You feel the words land in your chest. Tomorrow's first inch is ready. You look at your tool on the desk, placed as a tangible start. Then you dim a light and walk away. The organism hears the melody: completion, container, safety, next inch. Sleep comes easier when your brain trusts your word that you will pick the thread up where you placed it. There's a story with the smell of rain and printer ink. Omar leaves the office late with a meeting still arguing in his head. He wants to relitigate it under the shower. Instead, he fills a glass at the sink, feels the water chill his fingers, and speaks the script. Inches, ask the constraining question, drafted version B, open, a line on timeline, leader line written, safe enough to stop. First inch, send 2-line summary at 9:10. He sets his phone on Do Not Disturb, face down on a book by the bed. The urge to rehearse fades not because he is disciplined, but because his organism believes the shop is closed and tomorrow is prepared. His confidence doesn't fray overnight. The voice that greets him in the morning is clean. Another breath. Feel your lower ribs push against fabric and then settle. Notice the small pause after exhale. That pause is the hinge where you can install a clean start. Mornings are easier when you use the 5-minute warm start. 2 minutes of breath and body, 4-4-6, jaw soft, eyes on a distant point through a window if you can. 2 minutes of budget, say the numbers aloud with the tone of stewardship. 1 minute to build the first fence, close tabs, place cursor, place hand on anchor, speak the first sentence in a whisper, first inch now. The rest of the day benefits from that quick gate opening with deliberateness. Distractions will still find you. The brain is trained by platforms that weaponize novelty. This is where compassionate constraints save the day. You talk to yourself the way you talk to a teammate you want to keep. We can scroll at 4 for 10. You set a timer and keep the promise. The constraint is compassionate because it doesn't insult the organism's need for novelty. It channelizes it. When the timer chimes, you touch your anchor, and run the focus fence language again. Over time, your RAS learns that novelty is permitted in doses and does not have to stage a coup during deep work. A relationship story shows the fence at home. Late evening, dishes stacked, a phone buzzes on the counter with a group chat popping off. Talia and her partner have drifted into parallel scroll. The room hums with blue light. Talia whispers, "Citizen," slides coach up, critic down. She names a small fence. 15 minutes together, phones face down, tea, 2 questions. She reaches for the kettle, feels the cool handle, hears the thin metal ping as heat climbs. She asks what was one good surprise today. Later she asks, what would make tomorrow less sharp? The partner's chest loosens. Talia feels her own jaw soften. She logs it quietly, not because it's an achievement, but because it's solvency. Her inner voice notes, fence made warmth. The next day that voice arrives to work steadier because the system that matters most got a deposit. Check the distance between your molars. Let it widen. Feel the tongue relax against the roof of your mouth and the drop of effort at the hinge of your jaw. You are ready for a harder drill that delivers outsized returns. The stimulus fast. 1 hour per day with all optional inputs off, no news, no social, no pundits, no email refresh, paired with a purposeful act. Writing, designing, repairing, cooking, even cleaning a drawer if that inch supports your life. Your self-talk frames it as investment, not deprivation. 1 hour to become who we are practicing being. The first week, restlessness will itch your skin. Name the weather, name the moment, run the window widen protocol inside the hour whenever you want to bail. After a handful of days, you will feel a new quiet under your sternum. That quiet is capital. In a fluorescent office where the air is too cold, Edwin runs a stimulus fast from 2:00 to 3:00 for 5 days. On day 1, he counts the dots in the ceiling tile. On day 3, he completes a system map that had been vapor for months. On day 5, he finds himself humming while drawing arrows on paper. The humming is mood, but it's also metabolic, stress chemistry replaced by flow chemistry. His inner voice stops bargaining and starts briefing. Aim, clarity. First inch, draw 3 blocks. He tastes the metallic edge of adrenaline less and the clean taste of breath more. He leaves early once that week to stand in the last light, and the ledger records the unusual entry, felt okay leaving. You will get sick, or a child will, or your boss will announce a surprise all hands, or a friend will call crying. Energy budgets bend. Fences get knocked down. Here is where your practice keeps you from losing the thread. You use the micro reset. It's 90 seconds. Breathe 4-4-6 twice, palm to a cool surface, whisper now, state the most conservative budget for the next 90 minutes, and erect the smallest fence around the 1 inch that matters. Your sentence might be, 20 minutes, door cracked, first line only. Stewardship, not spectacle. Confidence survives chaos by shrinking scope and keeping tone kind. Identity is in the wiring here. You are not the number of minutes you allocate or the perfection with which you keep fences. You are the awareness that budgets with care and builds temporary walls to keep gardens alive. You are the person who says stop when the shop is closed. You are the person who returns when it opens. When you feel the old identity rear up, the one that equates worth with exhaustion, place your palm on your sternum. Feel heat mate skin. Whisper the nameplate from the last part, steward. Your body will remember the cadence. Your self-talk will step into a lower, steadier register. Your confidence will sound like someone who gets things done and still has a face at dusk. One more scan before we set the assignment. Feel your feet on the floor, heel and ball, equal pressure. Hear the faint sigh of air from a vent, the scrape of a chair, the quiet inside your mouth when you close it gently. Set your gaze on a vertical line in the room and feel your spine answer. This is the posture of someone who protects fuel and chooses sentences that match their means. Your drill for the next 7 days is called Fence and Fuel. Each morning, warm start for 5 minutes, then speak your energy budget aloud and write the numbers on a square you see all day. Before each deep block, build a focus fence in 15 seconds. Declare the time, guard the trigger, touch the tangible start, whisper the first line. Install 2 gates at your desk or in your mind. Run a daily stimulus fast for 1 hour. At dusk, speak the nightly shutdown script with your hand on a cool anchor and place tomorrow's first inch where your future self can see and touch it. If chaos hits, deploy the micro reset. Record 1 ledger line per day that ties fence or fuel to an outcome you felt. Cleaner tone, steadier breath, fewer spirals, 1 inch moved. This is not austere. This is generous. You are giving your voice a stable platform from which to lead you. You are the awareness, budgeting energy, and building fences, not the storms trying to take it all. You are the operator who closes the window, opens it to light, and speaks like a leader to the one person who will spend your minutes. You. Confidence that holds under intimacy, the hard talk, the honest no, the stake in the ground you've avoided, requires a different kind of self-talk. In this part, you'll align your voice with your values so what you say out loud cannot betray you in private. You'll learn 2 frameworks that turn fuzzy ideals into sentences you can actually speak when your heart kicks. The first is the values-to-voice bridge, a rapid way to translate what matters into what you'll say. The second is the moment of truth map, a simple guide that shows you where your courage will be spent in the next 7 days and how to pay in small bills. Your nervous system learns that conviction doesn't have to be loud to be real. It just has to be consistent. Start in the body so your compass can settle. Notice the weight of your chest against gravity and the soft pull of fabric over your shoulders. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and feel the air warm across your upper lip. Let your tongue rest lightly against the roof of your mouth. Feel the hinge of the jaw unclench 1 degree. Hear the farthest sound you can, a distant door, the hush of a vent, the minuscule scrape when your sleeve moves. Safety cues online. Your prefrontal cortex will translate meaning into language without the static of panic. The values-to-voice bridge runs over 3 spans: name, narrow, negotiate. You name 1 value as if it were a job title: clarity, respect, craftsmanship, stewardship, authenticity. You narrow that value into 1 behavior in context, what it looks like in the next conversation, not as a philosophy. Then you negotiate a single sentence that carries the value cleanly, a statement or a request you can say in 12 words or fewer. The sentence becomes the plank you walk when adrenaline arrives. This matters because values are often airy. The amygdala respects concrete actions. Watch it in real life. A sunlit kitchen at 7:12 a.m., cereal boxes open, a phone face down but hot with notifications. Priya and her co-founder are misaligned about scope. They've been dancing around it for weeks. Today she promised herself she'd stop dancing. She runs the bridge. Name, stewardship. Narrow, stewardship here means shipping what's safe and real, not everything. Negotiate. I want 1 safe slice this sprint, not the whole cake. She presses her palm to the cool countertop. A sensory seal then texts, can we align on 1 safe slice this sprint? The words aren't grand, they are clean. At noon on a call her tone holds. The old sentence, don't rock the boat, doesn't get the mic. Results follow, but more important is the interior effect. Her chest feels a touch roomier after the call, as if a window opened without a draft. Check your own interior weather. Notice the coolness at the rims of your nostrils and the warmer air as you exhale. Roll one shoulder back slowly and listen for the small, sandy sound of tissue ungluing. Your organism needs these micro-signals to trust that the bridge will hold when you're above a canyon. The moment of truth map is a weak-at glance that stops surprises from owning you. You draw a quick mental map each morning, 3 pockets of the day, morning, midday, evening, and you predict the one moment in each when your values will be tested. You name the test in 7 words, write a bridge sentence for each, and add a tiny body cue you'll use to keep tone warm and firm. A thumb on a ceramic mug, the feel of wood grain, the cool of a doorknob. You are preloading your reticular activating system to notice crosswinds and to keep the nose of the plane pointed where you decided. Neuroscience in plain clothes. Prediction dampens alarm. An anecdote from a corridor with recycled air and grey carpet helps it stick. June, an engineer with a laugh that used to come easy, has been saying yes to ghost deadlines. He's tired in the bone-deep way that turns kindness brittle. He maps his day, morning stand-up, midday roadmap review, evening text thread that always escalates. He writes 3 tests. Morning, stand-up scope creep. Bridge, I can take it today, B goes Friday. Body cue, thumb on mug. Midday, roadmap fantasy. Bridge, we can fund 2 bets, not 5. Cue, hand on table edge. Evening, text thread bait. Bridge, I'm off at 7, email me and I'll answer at 9. Cue, phone face down on a book. He breathes, whispers now, and draws a small dot on his wrist as a reminder. The day happens. He uses 2 bridges and forgets one. The one he used in the roadmap review prevents a week of drift. The one he forgot in the evening costs him an hour and a knot in his throat. That night, he runs the 90-second debrief and writes both in the ledger. The next evening, the dot on his wrist catches his eye and he speaks the sentence as if it were a lane line. His body experiences the map as scaffolding, not a cage. Let's go into a relationship room where the air smells like citrus cleaner and the clock ticks loud enough to notice. A conversation about boundaries is overdue. Your partner has been making plans that include your time without asking. Your default in a script is a mix of apology and acid. The bridge brings coherence. Name, respect. Narrow, respect here means ask, don't assume. Negotiate, please check my calendar before you commit my time. You rehearse it in the bathroom mirror with your fingers on the cool porcelain and your eyes soft, not hard. You add tone, warm, low, unhurried. When the moment arrives and your throat heats, you remember the doorknob. You touch it, cool, solid, and speak the 12 words. The room tightens for a beat, then loosens. You didn't perform, you anchored. That difference changes the memory your body stores. Pause and scan your feet. Feel the pressure at the balls, then the heels, then both at once. Let your gaze rest on a vertical line, a door frame, a book spine, and feel your posture lengthen a centimeter. This uprightness plays well with the next micro-practice, the compass breath. On inhale, you silently name the value. On exhale, you speak the bridge sentence in a whisper only you can hear. 2 rounds before a moment of truth primes tone. It is not affirmation, it is alignment. There is a workplace scene with fluorescent light that hums like a hive. A department head says to you in a meeting, "We're going to need you to do nights for a month." It's said casually, like passing a salt shaker. Your chest tightens, your jaw wants to lock. The old loyalty script stirs, the one that equates sacrifice with worth. Values to voice in fast forward. Name, health and reliability. Narrow, sleep protects both. Negotiate. I can cover 2 late shifts a week, not nights for a month. Your thumb finds the ridges on your pen, anchor, and you speak the sentence warm and firm. You suggest a rotation and propose coverage. Your heart rate bumps but doesn't spike into the red. Later, as you walk to the elevator, you can smell the faint tang of dry erase on your sleeves and feel the air cooler in the hall. Your body knows you chose who you are. Sometimes the value is truth, and it will cost a little comfort. That does not make you cruel, it makes you clean. Consider a doorstep at twilight, concrete still holding daytime heat, the smell of dust and jasmine. You need to say, I'm not in this anymore, or I can't promise that timeline, or I need to be paid for this work. The bridge helps you avoid the two ditches, hedging until resentment blooms or detonating because the hedges finally strangled you. You do compass breath. You rehearse 3 times at conversation volume with the window closed so the sound feels contained. You keep your tone low. You aim for 1 clean sentence and 1 small next step. I'm out, and I'll drop the key by 10, or I can deliver part A by Friday. Let's align on B next week. The person in front of you might not like it. Your nervous system will like that your inside matched your outside. Check in again. Feel the cool at the back of your throat as air moves. Roll your shoulders forward, up, back, and down slow circles that sound like wool sliding on wood. Your prefrontal cortex appreciates range. It needs your body to prove that range exists in motion, not just in thought. With that, we can add a science note. When your words and actions line up with your values, your anterior cingulate cortex, your error detector settles. Internal conflict decreases. The relief that follows is not mystical, it's neuroeconomics. Less error signal frees energy for the work. There's a story with paper and rain in it. A teacher named Mara sits with a stack of essays and a budget-cut memo. The memo says classes will double. Her values are care and rigor. The memo pits them against each other. The old sentence rises, keep your head down. She runs the bridge. Name, care, and rigor. Narrow, one protects feedback quality, the other protects students. Negotiate. I cannot double class size without lowering quality. Here are 2 feasible alternatives. She writes the line, not as a fight, but as a boundary of stewardship. In the meeting, her tone is steady. She presents options, parent volunteers for grading rubrics, fundraise stipends for tutors, a staggered schedule. She uses the moment of truth map for the hallway conversation afterwards when a colleague says, why make waves? Bridge, because care is a verb and this is what it looks like here. The colleague shrugs. The principal actually calls 2 weeks later. Some waves are weather. Some waves carry boats. Mara logs both, the shrug and the call. You will meet your own resistance dressed up as modesty. It will say values talk is pompous. It will prefer the back foot. That's when you deploy the shadow bridge, a variant that acknowledges fear without letting it steer. You name the fear beside the value. I'm afraid I'll upset them, and my value is fairness. And then you negotiate a sentence that honors both. I want to be fair. Here's what I can do and what I can't. Saying, I want, out loud recalibrates your RAs toward action. Wanting is directional. Direction lowers noise. Picture a glass-walled conference room where the air tastes recycled and the city thrums beyond. Your team wants to ship a feature that pings sensitive data. Your core value is integrity. Your fear is being labeled difficult. Shadow bridge, I'm afraid I'll be the stick in the spokes, and my value is integrity. We can't ship this without encryption. Here's the fast path to make it safe. Your voice is even. The room bristles, then bends. Later you stand by a window and watch brake lights smear in a red line, and you breathe slower than the cars. You didn't win a fight. You told the truth with care. The body catalogs that as evidence. Another sensory beat. Smell the room, paper, soap, dust. Touch a cool surface, the glass of a picture frame, the metal of a chair, and feel your skin map its edge. This is how you keep tone clean when stakes rise. Anchors turn noise down, making room for your sentence to land the way you mean it. Let's put both frameworks into a day with 3 quick tests. Morning, a coworker DMS, quick thought, can you just add these 5 items to the sprint? Your value is focus. Bridge, to protect focus, I can take one, the rest go next sprint. You touch the desk edge, speak low. Midday, your sibling asks for a loan that would undercut your basic bills. Your value is stability. Bridge, I can help with X this month. I can't take on Y. You touch the rim of your glass. Evening, your own brain hammers. Do more or you'll be left behind. Your value is sustainability. Bridge, I'm off at 7. Tomorrow's first inch is staged. You place your tool in sight, whisper the shutdown script. 3 moments, 3 bridges, 1 nervous system that ends the day unfrayed. Identity rides under every sentence you choose. You are not the gust of panic that tries to shove you sideways when you speak from value. You are the awareness that builds a bridge before the wind and walks it when the gust arrives. You are not the reaction you feared in the other person's eyes. You are the steward of your own word. When you forget and speak from fear, repair is the same as ever. Breathe, own it, and cross back onto the bridge. I spoke from anxiety, not value. Here is the line I meant. The organism hears the recalibration and stores trust, not shame. You'll need one more micro practice to handle the aftermath of moments of truth, the 2-minute dignity check. Right after a hard conversation, you place a palm on a cool surface, breathe 4-4-6 twice, and ask 2 questions aloud in a low tone. Did my sentence match my value? Did my tone match my intent? If the first answer is yes, but the second is no, you send a single repair line, not a manifesto. My tone was sharper than I wanted, my point stands, and my care does too. The check keeps your inner critic from writing epics and keeps relationships from accumulating static. The brain likes closure, the heart likes repair. There is a quiet scene on a bus at 9:17 p.m., lights dim, the smell of rubber and rain. You replay the day, a boundary you set, a bridge you walked, a voice that almost ran you. You run the dignity check and adjust 1 line in a text. Your shoulders lower, your jaw softens. You touch the cold metal pole as you stand and feel a small pride, not a shiny medal, a plain receipt. Confidence on command is starting to feel like that. Receipts for who you said you were, held between your fingers. Another breath, lift your chin 1 centimeter and let it settle. Feel your feet make friends with the floor. Name a value silently and feel how your chest answers, not with trumpets, but with a steadier drum. This is where the science becomes lived. Congruence reduces noise. Reduced noise frees skill. Free skill changes outcomes. Outcomes reinforce identity. The loop is quiet and strong. Your field assignment for the next 7 days is called Bridges Before Breakfast. Each morning, before the first consequential interaction, you map 3 likely tests, morning, midday, evening, in 7 words each. You run values to voice on each and write a 12-word sentence you can actually say. You choose a sensory anchor for each, the mug, the door, the pen. You practice the sentences out loud once at conversation volume with a warm, low tone. At day's end, you run the 2-minute dignity check. If you missed a bridge, you write the line you wish you'd said and rehearse it once in the sanctuary room. Your nervous system will store that rehearsal as a seed. When tomorrow's gust comes, you'll find the bridge with less searching. You are the awareness that chooses the sentence that honors value, not the weather that tries to blow you off the walkway. You close the window, you select the bridge, you place your palm on cool surface, and you speak like a leader to the only person who has to live with your voice. You. Confidence that endures across seasons, launches, layoffs, new roles, quiet months where nothing seems to move, depends on how you talk to yourself when the future is fog. In this part, you'll learn to make decisions and maintain momentum when you can't see 5 steps ahead. 2 frameworks will carry you. The first is choice under fog, a method that turns uncertainty into a set of controllable dials so you can act without gambling your nervous system. The second is the if-then bridge, a micro-contract language that preloads wise behavior when the world doesn't cooperate. You'll add a drill called RAS bookmarks so your attentional system hunts for the right crumbs instead of doom. The aim is simple. You speak to yourself like a calm navigator, not a weather reporter who panics into poetry. Begin in the body so the console lights up. Notice the temperature behind your eyes, cool air on the blink, warmer lids settling. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and feel your ribs roll down and in like a quiet shutter. Touch a nearby surface, the cool lip of a glass, the matte edge of a laptop, the soft nap of fabric at your thigh, and let its texture register. Hear the farthest sound available, a vent, footsteps in a hall, a car whispering by. These cues tell the organism a pilot is present. Pilots decide. They don't predict the clouds away. Choice under fog is a 4-dial panel you'll reach for whenever the path ahead looks smeared. Scope, speed, safety, signal. Scope is how big the bet is. Speed is how fast you move. Safety is what protects the body and the mission while you move. Sleep, boundaries, cache, reputational guardrails. Signal is what you'll measure in the next meaningful time box. In your command voice, you set each dial consciously. Scope small, speed steady, safety prioritized, signal defined. Then you issue a 1-sentence brief and move. The brain relaxes when you trade fantasy control outcomes for real control dials. Watch it at a small table that smells like espresso and rain. Kaori has been courting a role in a new division. The org is vague, politics are loud, and her inner voice starts to spike. If you don't jump now, you'll be irrelevant. She places her palm on the cool ceramic mug. Choice under fog, scope, 1 meeting with the hiring manager and 2 informational chats, not a leap. Speed, 2 weeks. Safety, keep current workload sustainable, no late-night heroics. Signal 1 concrete project charter or pass. Brief, aim clarity, 1st inch, book 2 chats by Friday. Her shoulders drop a millimeter. She does not freeze. She does not fling herself at the decision like a cliff. 2 weeks later, with a draft charter in hand, her body knows the difference between a bright maybe and an empty promise. Her self-talk sounds less like a siren and more like a captain. We check signal. We move 1 scope. Scan your chest. Heat or cool, tight or easy. Let your jaw unhook and your tongue rest lightly on the roof of your mouth. When your mouth softens, your voice drops into a steadier register. That register pairs with the 2nd framework, the if-then bridge. It's an implementation intention with a leadership coat of paint. You prewrite tiny rules so future, you doesn't negotiate under stress. If X trigger happens, then Y-wise action occurs in under 60 seconds. Make them absurdly specific and body-linked. If I get a calendar ping mid-deep work, then I breathe once, whisper now, and write the smallest reply time. If a stakeholder says urgent, then I ask for the 1 constraint before I move. You print 2 or 3 on a card or put them in your notes, and you rehearse them once out loud with a sensory anchor. The RAS loves these. It recognizes familiar patterns and supplies the cue. There's a corridor with recycled air and a door with a metal handle cool against skin. Tay, a project manager, keeps promising himself he'll stop saying yes to drive-by requests. His nervous system has other plans whenever an executive appears in the doorway. He writes 3 if-thens and rehearses them with his palm on the doorknob. If they hover, then I stand, step into the hall, and ask for the 1 outcome. If they say just 5 minutes, then I say I have 3 and start a timer. If they say, can you squeeze, then I say I can swap, not add, which item drops. The next hover comes. He feels heat rise, hears his name. Palm to knob, anchor voice low. I have 3 minutes, what's the one outcome? The exec names it. Tay routes it to the right lane. His heart rate never hits red. Later, at his desk, he whispers evidence voice. Kept the bridge, kept the mission. Another breath. Feel the faint warmth along your upper lip as the exhale passes. Let your eyes land on a clean vertical line, a book spine, a door frame, and feel your spine lengthen a centimeter. You're ready for RAS bookmarks. The reticular activating system is the filter that decides which pieces of reality get a VIP pass into awareness. Under fog, it defaults to threat or novelty. You will give it breadcrumbs. A bookmark is a 12-word sentence that says what to notice next. One person I can serve today with one question. One assumption that needs a test by noon. One signal that says continue or pivot. You write one bookmark per day, pair it with a sensory anchor, and repeat it in a low tone. Then you go about your work. Hours later you'll catch the exact face, the exact sentence, the exact metric you primed for. Confidence is not mystical. It is the felt sense of being aimed. Anecdote, a glass-walled office with a view of slate sky, the hum of HVAC, the taste of old coffee. Nor from earlier is deciding whether to sunset a feature that a loud minority loves. Her old pattern is to run polls and then drown in noise. She writes a bookmark, one usage pattern from top 10 accounts that predicts renewal. She pairs it with the notch in her desk edge, a small groove her finger finds. She repeats it, warm and direct. That afternoon a dashboard shows a quiet correlation. She feels the click of alignment. Choice under fog, scope, pilot sunset with 5 accounts, speed 2 weeks, safety rollback path, signal retention delta at day 10. If then bridge, if backlash arrives, then we host one customer council with one question. She moves. The blowback is noisy. The signal is cleaner than the noise. Her body logs the subtle relief of having dials, not drama. Check your hands. Cool on the backs, warmer at the pads. Press thumb and forefinger, feel the whirl. That pressure can become your fog anchor, a tactile reminder to shrink scope and define signal when your mind wants to sprint into catastrophes. Which brings us to a sister practice, the decision delta. Under fog, you aim for a decision that's 1% better than yesterday, not perfect. You ask one question, what's the smallest delta that moves reality? Then you act and log it. This dissolves perfection paralysis. Your inner voice stops asking, will this impress? And starts asking, will this move? Movement builds mood. Take a hallway that smells like toner and lemon cleaner. Aisha is writing a white paper she's been avoiding. The topic is squishy, the audience picky. Her default in a line says, if it's not great, don't ship. She runs decision delta, cut one paragraph that rambles, add one example. She does it in 10 minutes. Then she whispers evidence voice, delta made the read cleaner. Her shoulders drop. The project moves from myth to artifact. Myth invites avoidance. Artifacts invite iteration. The organism stores that feeling as solvency. Sometimes fog is not external. It's the undefined future you've inflated into a wall. That's when you use the 3-horizon reframe. Horizon 1 is today to 2 weeks. Horizon 2 is 2 weeks to 3 months. Horizon 3 is 3 months and beyond. Under pressure, you speak in Horizon 1 only. H1, draft, test, debrief. You write H2 and H3 down to quiet the mind, but you do not let them steer tone. Prefrontal cortex likes slices, amygdala likes cliffs. You choose slices. You can even say it in the room. Let's talk Horizon 1 actions. The words do not sound profound. They sound like road signs. Your organism likes road signs when fog thickens. Let me bring you into a hospital corridor where the air is cool and smells like antiseptic, shoes whispering on polished floor. Lucia, our nurse, is told the shift model might change. Rumors bloom, anxiety vines up necks. Her inner talk starts bargaining. If you don't volunteer for everything, you'll be punished by the schedule. She steps to a window, places her palm on the cool glass, and runs the panel. Choice under fog, scope, meet with charge nurse for facts, speed today, safety, sleep protected, no extra doubles, signal written plan by Friday. She sets an if-then. If rumor crosses my station, then I say, I'll wait for Friday's plan and meanwhile prepare questions. RAS bookmark, one question that improves fairness. On Friday she asks it. The new model still has thorns, the conversation has rails. Her organism does not spend the week in loops, it spends the week in inches. Check the back of your neck, warm under the collar, slide one finger along the skin just beneath and feel the contrast with the room's air. That simple sensation resets vigilance. Now an edge case, when fog is self-made by over-forecasting disaster. This is negativity bias recruiting your imagination for unpaid overtime. You run the anti-catastrophe map. You write 3 lines in your notes: worst plausible case, base case, best plausible case. For each, one smallest act you take. Then you ask, what signal would push me from base toward either edge? You repeat your bookmark and proceed at base case speed. The act of naming edges without living in them calms the limbic system. You've vaccinated with measured exposure. There's a startup war room again, stale air, empty pizza boxes, a spreadsheet that threatens morale. Theo hears himself saying we are dead 3 times an hour. The map becomes his antidote. Worst plausible, churn spikes 5 points act, /ad spend call top 10 customers. Base churn flat act, fix onboarding copy. Best plausible, bump in upgrades act, expand cohort test. Signal daily conversion by segment. He writes it, he breathes. His tone to the team loses its edge. It keeps its urgency. Evidence voice at week's end. We held base, improved onboarding, storm not fatal. His body trusts him more because he didn't lie to it with either doom or denial. Another breath. Listen for the smallest far sound, maybe a hinge, maybe a pipe. Let your gaze soften to blur and then refocus on a single crisp point. You're ready for a drill that stitches all of this into muscle, the fog minute. Anytime you feel choice evaporate, you take 60 seconds. First 20 seconds, breath 4-4-6, jaw unhooks, palm touches cool surface. Next 20, set the 4 dials aloud, scope, speed, safety, signal. Last 20, speak 1 if, then and 1 RAS bookmark. Then you take the first inch. The fog minute trains your organism to expect a sensible pilot in storms. After a week of fog minutes, your baseline will feel less like lurching, more like pacing. Here's a relationship scene with the smell of rain in wool and the click of a leaking faucet. You and your partner need to choose a city. The options churn your stomach. Old inner lines return. If we pick wrong, we ruin everything. You run the fog minute. Scope, shortlist 3 neighborhoods, not the universe. Speed, 2 weekends. Safety, budget a buffer, protect sleep. Signal, 1 criterion ranked separately then together. Commute, community, cost. If we spiral tonight, then we pause, list 1 criterion each and sleep. Bookmark, 1 neighbor to call for lived reality. You feel silly saying it out loud. Then you feel your shoulders fall an inch. 2 weeks later, you have a lease. You also have a body that didn't scrape itself raw getting there. Identity sits under fog like bedrock. You are not the haze. You are the one who chooses dials and speaks bridges. When fear says, if you slow down you'll be left behind, you whisper steward and tighten safety, not speed. When pride says, if you don't go big, you're small, you tighten scope and define signal. Each time you log the inch in your ledger and speak evidence voice, not to brag, but to keep accounts true. Dialed scope to small, shipped V01. Over weeks, your RAS learns to surface dials before doom. That's what confident feels like from the inside, not louder, clearer. Let's test these tools in a fluorescent boardroom with glass that shows the city in pale grids. A quarterly review is slipping toward theater. Slides bloat, patience phrase. You see the fog forming, vague goals, vague blame, vague promises. You prime with a fog minute at your seat, fingers on the cool metal chair. Dials, scope, 3 decisions, speed 80 minutes, safety no blame, signal owner, date, metric for each. If conversation drifts, then I ask, which decision are we making? Bookmark one line that names signal without sting. When you speak, your voice is low. 2 minutes to write the 3 decisions we need, then we proceed. The temperature drops a degree. You're not dramatic, you're specific. At the end, there are 3 decisions, each with a name and a date. People file out without the usual after-meeting aftershocks. You feel the soft fatigue of useful work, not the sticky residue of fog. Sometimes fog takes the shape of grief. A plan ends, a relationship changes, a door closes without notice. You cannot optimize pain, but you can keep your talk to yourself clean while the weather passes. You run the 90-second weather rule often. You shrink scope to care and basics. You set safety to maximum, move, eat, sleep, sunlight, friends. You define signal modestly, got out, moved body, 1 honest sentence to someone. You write if-thens that protect dignity. If I wake at 3 a.m., then I place both feet on the floor, drink water, and breathe until exhale lengthens. You anchor to texture, the seam of a blanket, the cool of a window, and you do not let your inner voice draft identity verdicts in a storm. When the wind calms, you widen again. Grief-proof confidence doesn't exist. Dignity under grief does. Pause, feel your feet, heels, balls, toes, find equal weight. Smell the room, paper, soap, dust. Hear the softest friction of fabric as your ribs expand. Your nervous system is listening for leaders. Be one to yourself. Then add a final micro-practice to make fog friendlier, the future you debrief. At day's end you ask, what did past me do that made today easier? And what can I do now to make tomorrow's version of me grateful? Then you do one tiny act. Stage a document, lay out shoes, write a leader line, fill the water bottle. When you wake into the staged inch, your self-talk naturally lowers. Someone looked out for you. That someone was you. Confidence borrows heavily from that quiet kindness. A last story because stories store. Night bus, rubber and rain again, a student named Yi in a hoodie with a notebook open on his knees. Finals week, 2 jobs, fog thick everywhere. Old identity says you're a mess unless you sprint till you break. He runs the fog minute, breath jaw anchor to the cool window, dials, scope small, 1 concept map, speed steady, 30 minutes. Safety high, lights out by midnight, signal, 3 questions he can answer. If my phone itches, then I put it under my thigh. Bookmark, 1 professor's office hour I will use. He takes out a pen and draws 3 boxes. 30 minutes later, his shoulders soften. He logs 1 line. He falls asleep without bargaining. 10 years from now, he will not remember the bus number. He will remember how the fog felt less like a verdict and more like weather. Another slow inhale. Hold 4, exhale 6. Place 1 palm on your sternum, feel heat meet hand. Whisper the identity sentence that suits this chapter. I am the awareness that chooses dials and builds bridges. Hear its cadence. Feel the pause after the period. That pause is not indecision, it is authority, your choice to move 1 inch the way you decided, even when the horizon is blurred. Your drill for the next 7 days is called Dials Before Decisions. Each morning, write one RAS bookmark. Before any meaningful choice, run a fog minute, set the 4 dials aloud and write one if-then. After you act, log one decision delta line in the ledger. What small shift actually moved reality? At dusk, do a future debrief and stage tomorrow's first inch. If a surge of fog rises in your throat, run the anti-catastrophe map and speak only Horizon 1 aloud. You are not proving yourself to anyone, you are piloting. The window is closed against the storm. The air inside is clean enough to think. Your voice is the instrument that keeps you steady. You are not the fog. You are the one who names weather, sets dials, builds bridges, and walks the next inch in a tone your nervous system trusts. That is leadership when the map is smudged. Calm hands, clear sentences, and a body that believes you because you keep talking to it like someone who knows the way home. Confidence that doesn't crack under cumulative stress is less about never falling and more about how fast and cleanly you stand back up. In this part, you'll weld your self-talk to recovery, so setbacks stop becoming identity verdicts and start becoming fuel that returns you stronger. 2 frameworks will do the heavy lifting. The first is the Aftershock protocol, a simple sequence that you can run in 5 minutes to metabolize hits, botched conversations, missed targets, public stumbles, without letting them colonize tomorrow. The second is the resilience circuit, a weekly rhythm that inoculates you against future shocks by pairing hard practice with deliberate rest. You'll also install micro-cues that help your nervous system remember. Pressure is a moment. You are the pilot who breathes, briefs, repairs, and resumes. Begin with the organism. Feel the temperature difference between the air on your cheeks and the skin beneath your collar. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and listen for the soft shift in your chest as the ribs slide down. Touch something cool, a mug rim, a doorknob, a piece of metal, and let your fingertips trace its edge. Hear the farthest sound available, a vent whisper, a distant car, the subtle cloth sound when you roll one shoulder back. These are not rituals for ritual's sake. They tell your amygdala the storm has edges. With edges, you can draw a map. The Aftershock protocol has 4 steps you can do anywhere. Normalize, name, note, next. Normalize is a sentence that frames the hit as part of practice. This is what reps feel like at this level. Name is the specific cut, not the global story. I talked too fast in the Q&A. I avoided the ask. I missed the constraint. Note is 1 line of signal and 1 line of body. Signal 3 questions clustered on risk. Body heat at sternum, shallow breath. Next is a first inch that repairs or moves the work. Draft 2 clarifying lines. Schedule a 10-minute alignment. Rewrite the opener. You do it in 5 minutes. You do not decide identity during Aftershock. You restore the circuit and keep moving. Watch it in a room that smells faintly of carpet cleaner and coffee. A pitch ended 20 minutes ago. Your throat is dry, your head hums, and 3 moments replay like gifts you can't close. The old verdict forms, you blew it. You place a palm on cool glass. Normalize, this is what reps feel like. Name, I let the interruption yank my structure. I didn't rest the close. Note, signal, decision maker, ask timeline twice. Body, jaw tight, breath high. Next, send a 3-line follow-up that names the decision and timeline. Rehearse close once with a longer pause. You set a timer for 5 minutes, write the lines, and hit send in a low, even tone in your head. Evidence later. Your nervous system cools by a degree because you treated the moment like weather, not a tattoo. Check your jaw, unhook it. Place your tongue lightly against the roof of your mouth and feel the quiet that opens in the hinge. Your organism reads that silence as room for choice. With room for choice, we can install the second framework, the resilience circuit. It's the weekly counterpart to your daily confidence loops. It has 3 stations: stress inoculation, deep recovery, and meaning making, run in that order, light and repeatable. Stress inoculation is controlled challenge, 15 to 45 minutes, where you practice something just above your current edge with a clear metric, then stop. Deep recovery is a deliberate physiology-first downshift, breath, movement, sunlight, and sleep arranged like medicine, not reward. Meaning-making is the short narrative you write in your ledger that stitches rep to identity without melodrama. Here is how it sounds when a week is wired. Saturday morning, a hallway smelling like detergent and coffee steam. You set stress inoculation, rehearse the first 2 minutes of a talk at conversation volume 3 times with a metronome app and a 90-second pause between reps. You use the mirror-to-mic method and the 5x5 warm-up. You stop at the agreed minute even if you feel good. Later that afternoon, deep recovery is a 90-minute block without inputs, a walk under trees where light flickers through leaves, a nap without guilt, a meal that lands warm and heavy in the belly. That evening, meaning-making is 6 lines in your ledger, reps 3, metric, hit 30-second pause twice, body, chest loosened after second. Lesson, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. First inch, mark the pause in slides. You end with evidence voice. I am the person who trains nervous system and craft. Scan your hands, cool on the backs, warm at the pads. Press thumb to forefinger and feel the whirls, the rough soft friction that says you are in contact with something real. The body believes what it can touch. That's why we pair the Aftershock protocol with a tactile cue called the grounding stitch. After any repair action, you slide your thumb along the seam of your pocket or the edge of your notebook and whisper, "Stitch closed." It's simple. It tells your organism the loop is sealed. Open loops blade attention, sealed loops free it. There's an office scene with bright winter light and the smell of printer ink. Naomi discovers a bug shipped to production. Her stomach drops, her mouth tastes metallic. Old identity says you're careless. Aftershock runs in the time it takes a page to refresh. Normalize, this is what reps feel like at this level. Name, forgot the edge case in error handling. Note, signal to crash reports on iOS. Body, heat in throat, cold in hands. Next, roll back, write regression test, draft a 2-line note to affected users. She does those inches. Then she uses the grounding stitch and taps her signature cue. Later, in the resilience circuit, stress inoculation is writing a checklist for similar deploys. Deep recovery is a slow run in afternoon sun. Meaning-making is a ledger line that links diligence with dignity, not shame. Her self-talk gives credit to process, not personality. Confidence climbs because her memory now reads. We repair, we learn. Another breath, feel the air slide across the back of your throat. Hear the faintest far sound. Let your gaze rest on a single crisp point, a book spine, a window latch, and then soften to take in the room. With perception widened, we can add a companion to the resilience circuit, the relapse repair loop. Progress is rarely linear. You will sprint, stall, and sometimes slide. The loop keeps slides from becoming stories. It has 3 lines you speak aloud when you catch yourself in an old habit. I noticed earlier than before. I know the next inch. I resume now. You pair it with a single act that proves it. 1 breath, 1 sentence, 1 boundary, 1 apology. The loop turns relapse into return. An evening kitchen with warm light and a pile of dishes gives us an example. You promised yourself not to answer work pings after 7. It's 7:22 and your thumb is on the app. You catch it. Relapse repair loop. Noticed earlier than before. Next inch is phone face down, resume now. You place the phone on a book, feel the paper's cool smoothness and say, I'm off at 7, tomorrow's first inch is staged. The moment feels small and also like a hinge. You did not berate, you resumed. Your nervous system prefers this music to punishment. Let's move into a room that smells like rain and wool where grief sits in the corner because resilience without grief literacy becomes brittle. There are seasons when a hit is not a bug or a botched sentence, but a loss that reorders the map. The Aftershock protocol still applies, but the metrics shrink. Normalize becomes softer. This is what love and effort feel like when they get interrupted. Name is allowed to be simple. I'm exhausted. I miss them. I'm scared. Note is mainly body, eyes hot, jaw heavy, breath shallow. Next is elemental. Drink water, step outside, ask one friend for one thing. In these seasons, resilience circuit tilts toward deep recovery. Meaning making might be one line, I moved kindly, I kept the smallest promise, that counts. Your self-talk stays clean. You refuse to let pain draft permanent labels. You are not the weather. You are the one closing the window and lighting a small lamp. Check your posture. Lift your gaze 1 inch above the horizon of your screen and feel your back lengthen. Your organism loves that inch. With it, we can install a high-return practice, the confidence cascade. The cascade is a chain of 3 actions that happen in under 10 minutes to reclaim state from a slump. 1 breath ritual, 1 micro-win, 1 social signal. Breath is your 4-4-6 or a 30-second box. Micro-win is a 10-minute task you can complete to spec. Social signal is a low-stakes message sent to someone that aligns with your values. A thank you, a clear ask, a check-in. The sequence teaches your system that mood follows movement, which follows meaning. You become a person who can reboot midday without theatrics. Watch Omar, the late-meeting walker from earlier after a bruising stand-up. He wants to doom scroll, cascade instead, breath, 2 rounds of 4-4-6, hand on cool glass. Micro-win, write the 2-sentence meeting summary. Social signal, message a teammate, that question about risk saved us a week. His chest loosens a notch. He did win. He moved. His ledger catches the move. Confidence accrues not as a story he tells himself, but as receipts he can feel. Sensation checkpoint. Rub thumb and forefinger and feel the ridges. Press your heels into the floor, then the balls of your feet, then both equally. Hear the tiny sound your shirt makes when your shoulders drop. Your body is listening for fidelity. Do your words map to what you do? With that fidelity in place, we can address a hidden confidence leak, moral hangover, the lingering static you carry when your actions drift from your values by an inch or by a mile. The tool is the compass repair. You write a 1-sentence confession to yourself in neutral language, a 1-sentence value, and a 1-sentence amends action. Then you perform the amends within 24 hours. Confession: I shaded the truth to avoid conflict in that email. Value: I practice clarity and care. Amends: send a clean correction by 3 p.m. Your inner voice stops spending interest on avoidance. Your organism appreciates repairs more than rationalizations. A relationship scene shows this plainly. Late night, the kitchen lit by a single over-sink bulb, the smell of dish soap. You snapped earlier, tone sharp enough to nick skin. The old move is to pretend nothing happened and hope time sands the edge. Compass repair instead. Confession: I came in hotter than I meant. Value: kindness and clarity. Amends: say I'm sorry and restate what matters. You text or walk into the next room and say, I'm sorry for my tone. What matters to me is us deciding one next step. The room temp doesn't skyrocket. It lowers by 1 degree and the night exhales. Identity shifts under those degrees. You become someone who aligns without drama. Another breath, feel the cool at the back of your throat. Close your eyes for 2 seconds and notice darkness as a texture, not an absence. Open again and fix on a single crisp edge. You're ready for a demanding but transformational practice, the hard reps hour. Once a week, you schedule 60 minutes where you deliberately practice the pieces that make you squirm, asking for the number, stating the boundary, sitting in silence after a question, speaking your first sentence low and slow. You script reps like an athlete would. 1 minute work, 1 minute pause. You use the Voiceboard to turn up coach and captain. You keep critic at 2. You end with deep recovery, walk, water, sunlight, and you log 1 line of meaning. Over months, the moves that used to spike adrenaline become body memory. Your inner talk stops negotiating about courage because courage got domesticated into reps. Anecdote in a bland conference room, dry air, carpet that steals sound. Timo, a scientist turned leader, hates asking for money. His voice rises, his sentences fray. Hard reps hour becomes his dojo. He stands alone, palm on a cool table edge, and runs ask for the number 20 times, each preceded by a 4-4-6 breath, each in a warm, low tone. He pairs the sentence with a sensory anchor, the notch in the table's underside. The following week, in a living room that smells like old books, he asks an investor for the number without the flutter. He walks out feeling like a quiet door clicked shut behind him. He didn't become someone else. He drilled the future into his mouth. Slip happens even then. Your calendar empties the hour. Your kid gets sick. Your will goes soft on a rainy morning. This is when the resilience circuit's deep recovery protects you from turning maintenance into martyrdom. You tell yourself in evidence voice, hour missed, breath kept, boundary kept at noon, rescheduled Friday 11. You do not memorialize the miss in shame ink. You memorialize the repair in pencil and keep moving. Check in, smell the room, paper, dust, soap. Touch a cool surface and let the texture imprint in your skin. Name the room you are in, practice, planning, or panic, and step to where you need to be. That micro move still works because your organism trusts familiarity. With trust, we can add a final stitch to this part, the sanctuary stack. It's a 5-minute sequence you run any time the week feels like it's pouring through your fingers. 1 minute of breath. 1 minute of mirror, ownership plus orientation. 1 minute of fence, time, box, and tangible start. 1 minute of ledger, 1 line of evidence you felt. 1 minute of shutdown, place tomorrow's first inch. The stack is not glamorous. It's a small room you know you can return to with the window shut and the air clean. Confidence builds when your body knows there's always a room like that, no matter the weather. Let's end this part with a story in rain that smells like metal, shoes squeaking on lobby tile, elevator doors sighing open and closed. A mid-level manager named Kelsey has just had a review that was accurate and blunt. She rides the elevator to the ground floor with a hot face and an urge to run. Outside, under the awning, she places her palm on the cold rail. Aftershock protocol runs. Normalize, name, note, next. Relapse repair loop catches the old spiral and swaps it for resume. Confidence cascade follows, breath, micro-win, social signal. That night, resilience circuit marks the week with a hard reps hour for the opener she rushed and deep recovery that looks like phone down, book up, lights out earlier than she thinks possible. Meaning making is plain, truth strung, I moved 2 inches, tone stayed warm. Weeks later, a different conversation lands, not theater, not triumph, steadiness. The pilot shows up, the body believes her. One last sensory beat before we set your assignment. Feel your feet, heel, ball, toes, share weight like a tripod. Let your eyes rest on a vertical line and feel your spine answer. Place a palm on your sternum and feel heat meet hand. Whisper a quiet identity sentence. I am the awareness that repairs cleanly and resumes quickly. Hear its cadence. Let the period land. That full stop is permission to stop debating whether you deserve to continue. You do when you repair, and you will. Your drill for the next 7 days is called Repair and Resume. After any hit, run the Aftershock protocol in 5 minutes. Normalize, name, note, next. Once per week, schedule a resilience circuit that includes a small stress inoculation, a real deep recovery block, and a brief meaning-making entry. Add one confidence cascade midweek when your mood dips. Use compass repair the first time your stomach tightens at a moral hangover and perform the amends within 24 hours. Install the grounding stitch after every micro-repair so your organism knows loops are closed. If you relapse, speak the loop. Noticed earlier, know the inch, resume now, and do the inch in 60 seconds. Record one ledger line a day that ties a repair to a felt shift in your body, breath lower, shoulders softer, tone warmer. None of this is theater. It is scaffolding. You are building a nervous system that trusts you under load. You are not the stumble. You are the one who closes the window, stitches the cut, breathes low, and steps again. Your voice is learning to speak like a leader, especially when you would rather disappear. That's what makes it leadership. That's why it lasts. Your confidence becomes culture when your inner voice turns from a tool you reach for into the air you live in. This last part is about installing everything you've practiced as an operating system you can trust at 3 a.m. and at 3 p.m., in rooms that smell like carpet cleaner, in kitchens that smell like cinnamon, in hallways that smell like rain and rubber. 2 final frameworks complete the build. The first is the Leader Loop OS, a simple map that stitches breath, language, state, and action into one seamless sequence you can run in seconds or stretch across a day. The second is the Echo Audit, a weekly mirror that ensures the voice in your head aligns with the echo of your actions in the world. You'll layer in 2 micro drills, the calibration compass and the legacy line, so your talk carries clean power without the brittle edge of performance. When it's done, you won't be doing techniques. You'll be living as a person whose words to themselves change their biochemistry, their choices, and their relationships, quietly and on time. Start with the instrument. Feel the weight of your feet, heels, balls, toes share pressure like a 3-legged stool. Notice the temperature at the rims of your nostrils. Cooler air in, warmer air out across the upper lip. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, and hear the faint friction of fabric as your ribs settle a notch lower. Place 2 fingers on a cool surface nearby, the mug, the pen clip, the edge of your desk, and let your skin read its texture. Your organism is listening. These cues tell it, we are here, we have a pilot, we can choose. The Leader Loop OS runs in 4 beats that you already know, now written on one card you can keep in pocket or mind. Sense, state, speak, step. Sense is your radar check in a breath, rate, attention, data, effect, resources, plus the short weather report. Heat in chest, breath high. State is your fast shift, 4-4-6 or box breath, voiceboard sliders, coach and captain up, critic down, and a room choice. Practice, then planning. Speak is your brief in 1 line, tone chosen, aim and first inch, warm and firm. Step is the tiny behavior that seals the voice into the body. The email sent, the question asked, the boundary stated, the pen touching paper for the first line. You can run the whole OS in 60 seconds or expand each beat to fit a meeting, a day, a week. When life spikes, you compress. When life opens, you linger. The point is continuity. Your nervous system recognizes the melody no matter the tempo and stops, wasting fuel on reactivity. Watch it in a fluorescent hallway with the smell of toner and lemon cleaner. Amir from earlier steps toward a room where a stakeholder known for turbulence waits with a stack of notes. Amir's default used to be either a grin too wide or a jaw too hard. Today he runs the OS in 12 seconds at the door. Sense, breath high, attention narrow, data, 12 people, 30 minutes, one decision. State, exhale long, coach up, captain up, critic down, step into practice, then planning. Speak, aim, name, risk. First inch, ask for constraint, tone calm. Step, he asks, if we solve one thing today, is it risk A or B? The room orients. He did not perform, he ran the loop. His body logs solvency, not showmanship. Solvency is what confidence feels like when you don't need an audience. Scan your throat, cool or warm, unhook the jaw and let your tongue rest lightly against the roof of your mouth. Feel the tiny slack that follows. Now the echo audit. Once a week, you sit for 7 minutes with your ledger and your calendar open. You ask 4 questions out loud, low and steady so the words cut grooves in your nervous system. What did I promise? What did I deliver? What did my body feel when my words and actions matched? Where did my voice drift from my values? You answer in single sentences, past tense, verifiable. Then you write one prescription, a single rep you'll perform in the coming week to close the largest gap. The echo audit is dignity in practice. It keeps the system clean, prevents identity inflation, and turns shame into instruction. An anecdote makes it simple. Sunday night, soft lamp glow, the smell of dry warm cotton. Daria, our Miratomike practitioner, reads her week. Promised 2 boundaries, 1 deep block per day. Delivered 1 boundary, 4 deep blocks. Body, breath lower in meetings with tone warm, shoulders tight on Thursday. Drift, said yes to a Friday night ping. Prescription, fence holds after 7. If urgent appears, then ask the one constraint and schedule for morning. She places a palm on the cool ceramic of her mug, says the lines low, and feels her ribs slide down. That feeling is worth the 7 minutes. Her organism registers that the voice in her head audits and amends without cruelty. Another breath. Hear the farthest sound you can. A vent whisper, a stair creak, a car sighing past. Let your eyes focus on a single crisp edge, a book spine, a window latch, then soften to include the whole room. You're ready for the calibration compass. 4 directions, 4 quick checks you can run in 20 seconds before any consequential move. North is clarity. Do I know the aim in 12 words? South is care. Does my tone protect relationship and self-respect? East is craft. Is the next inch specific enough to be measured by a stranger? West is courage. Am I saying the thing that actually needs saying? You don't pontificate. You touch each direction with 1 quiet sentence. If one is blank, you spend 30 seconds to fill it. This keeps you from sprinting on a crooked line or freezing with a perfect speech in your head and no breath in your ribs. See it in a glass-walled room with marker smell thick enough to taste. Maya stands at the whiteboard. Her default instinct is to flood the room with ideas to outrun discomfort. Compass check. North, aim, select 1 experiment. South, tone warm and firm. East, inch, name the metric. West, courage, say the blocker. She says, we pick 1 test this week because we can't fund 5. The metric is time to first value. The blocker is approvals that take 8 days. We'll right-size scope. The room exhales. She didn't become a different person. She aligned her voice with the compass instead of with the weather inside her chest. Feel the skin beneath your collar compared to the room air. Warmer, cooler. That contrast is proof of presence. Presence gives you access to the last micro drill, the legacy line. You write and rehearse 1 sentence that you're willing to be remembered by in rooms that matter to you, a team, a family, a community, not a slogan, a stance. It might be we make decisions we can defend in daylight. It might be we move the next inch with care. It might be we don't trade our bodies for speed. You say it before hard conversations. You use it as a repair line when you miss. You end meetings with it when clouds gather. The legacy line is not grand, it is steady. It returns you to yourself when the crowd pulls your tone up an octave or drags it into sarcasm. It becomes the spine of your voice. There's a twilight scene, streetlights humming, rain lifting the smell of earth. You and a teammate are about to tell the truth about a slipped deliverable to a client who likes to bark. Old identity wants to hedge. You touch the window glass, cool against your palm, and whisper your legacy line, "We tell the truth and name the next wise inch." In the call, your tone stays low. "We missed by 2 days. Our next inch is a rollback plan and a smaller slice now. Here's the metric." You don't win a medal. You win a night of clean sleep. Your organism adds that to the ledger under the column labeled proof. Back to the OS. The more you run sense, state, speak, step, the more seamlessly the parts play together. The 5x5 warm-up becomes a pre-flight. The mirror to mic becomes your rehearsal stage. The window widen gives your eyes range under heat. The voiceboard keeps the right chair holding the mic. The hourly brief keeps the path lit in small pools of clarity. The confidence ledger, radar check, and evidence voice turn moments into receipts. The energy budget and focus fence protect fuel and attention, so your tone stays warm and your sentences simple. The self-trust contract and integrity loop make your word reliable at a microscopic scale. The armor-to-antenna switch and feedback triage keep you from swallowing ghosts and teach you to turn criticism into craft. Choice under fog swaps drama for dials. The Aftershock protocol and resilience circuit let you repair and resume without losing days to stories that don't serve. And beneath every move sits identity, spoken plainly. You are the awareness choosing the next inch, not the weather that tries to own you. Check your palms, cool on the backs, warmer on the pads. Press thumb to forefinger, feel the whirl. That small focus is how you thread your voice through hard rooms. Here's a final story to stitch it all together. An auditorium with stale air and 100 eyes. You're the last speaker, slides flicker, the mic pops. Your name echoes in the rafters. The old sentence lifts like a ghost, "Don't mess this up." You run the OS. Sense, breath a touch high, attention forward, data 12 minutes, one decision to earn. State 446, coach and captain up, critic down, practice, then planning, speak. Aim clarity, first inch name the problem in one line, tone warm. Step you say, in the next 12 minutes we'll solve one problem, time to first value. You feel your voice sit lower in your body. Midway, a question slices sideways. Armor wants to rise, you slide to antenna. Reflex named, value named, one question asked. Gold appears, ghost passes, you close with your legacy line. We move the next inch with care. The applause is modest. The conversations after are specific. On the walk out, the evening air smells like wet stone. You touch the cool rail and your body answers with a quiet, low yes. Not a cheer, a yes. Another breath. Lift your gaze 1 centimeter above the horizon of your screen or the far wall. Hear a far sound and a near one. Feel your jaw soften and your shoulders drop a millimeter. You're going to forget pieces of this. That's fine. The OS is forgiving. If all you remember is sense, state, speak, step, you can reconstitute the rest on the fly. If all you remember is coach up, captain up, critic down, you can land a hard minute with dignity. If all you remember is aim, first inch, warm and firm, you can shape a sentence that changes the room by 1 degree. Those degrees compound into climate. The climate becomes culture, inside you, then around you. Your last field assignment is integration week. Each morning, you run a 5-minute warm start, speak your energy budget, and write 1 RAS bookmark. Before the day's first consequential moment, you run the leader loop OS in 60 seconds, sense, state, speak, step. You keep the calibration compass at your elbow for every meeting that matters. You write one self-trust contract for private life and one for public work. You keep both before dusk. You run one fog minute. You perform one aftershock protocol the first time you feel a sting. You end days with the nightly shutdown script and one echo audit prescription for the week. You punctuate moments with your signature cue and seal loops with the grounding stitch. On day 7, you perform an echo audit and write a legacy line if you don't have one. If you do, you speak it once while your hand rests on a cool anchor. You are not chasing a feeling. You are living a language. Identity again, because it is the quiet engine. You are not the surge of adrenaline, not the dry mouth, not the bone-tired afternoon, not the critic that learned its harshness from rooms that didn't know better. You are the awareness that names the weather, closes the window, and chooses the sentence that keeps your hands steady. You are the operator who budgets fuel, builds fences, invites gold, walks bridges, sets dials, repairs cleanly, and resumes quickly. You talk to yourself like a leader because you are practicing leadership every time you breathe low, brief clearly, choose tone, and take the next inch. Confidence on command turns out to be the sound of a person telling themselves the truth, kindly, and then acting on it in small ways that add up. Last scan, feel your feet on the floor, heel, ball, toes, equal weight. Smell the room, paper, soap, dust. Touch a cool surface and let its texture register. Whisper in your command voice, warm and firm, I can choose the next useful sentence. Hear its music, feel your chest answer. Then say your legacy line, quietly enough that you could be speaking to the one person who must believe you first. Because you are.